What's going on, everybody? Fresh out of my kidney stone phase. How's everybody doing? Welcome to the Tuesday Night Hang. Obviously, it's a Tuesday and we're hanging, and we appreciate everybody coming by and hanging out with us. Last week, I'm sorry, I was a little bit under the weather. Like I said, I've been battling with a little kidney stone issue, but we got through that, got them out, and here we are rocking and rolling. So, anyway, we're excited tonight, as we are every Tuesday night, to do the hang. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us, and like to say hello to my friend Stephen Wright. What's up, Stephen?
What's going on, guys? How you doing? How you doing?
How you doing, huh? Hey, hey, what's going on? How you doing,
I'll
huh?
throw a little Chicago in this.
How you doing? Yeah, well, you threw a lot of Chicago in it last week, brother. Thanks for
No
standing
worries.
in and keeping everybody laughing and informed. I know you had Jake on there
Yeah,
from
man.
Virtual Arts.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, no, actually, I was watching in between getting rid of kidney stones. Actually, you guys are probably the ones that made me get rid of my kidney stones.
Like, okay, please expel something. That's great.
No, I appreciate
Yeah.
you standing in. You did a great job, and it was very cool that you and Jake talked. And I know we introduced some things last time.
Yep.
Well, you did, but you did a great job. And without you, there's no us. That kind of sounds a little kind of cheesy, but it's the truth, man. I appreciate it.
Better.
So, thanks. So anyway, it's been an interesting week. We got everything together, and we have a wonderful guest coming on here in about 5 minutes. Before I get to that, I want to talk about some things. But yes, we have the inimitable Wayne Bergeron. He's going to join us here very shortly. He was supposed to be on last week, but since I was under the weather, we decided to wait another week because, as you've seen prior to this feed, I think you were privy to it, Stephen. It's pretty stupid when Wayne and I get together. I mean, it's pretty stupid funny, I think.
There were text messages.
There's text messages, yes. So we're excited he's here, and he'll be out here in a second. He's just getting it together. In the meantime, I just want to kind of regroup and talk about what you talked about last week, and something that's been very exciting for me is this new virtual arts music thing we got going on here, which is very fun. You actually, Stephen, put together a wonderful video referencing a Maynard quote that Maynard talked about. And this new thing, virtual arts, is basically, we've gotten a lot of emails and I've gotten a lot of calls about it. And it's basically what it is the last virtual arts they had was 2,200 people, was like a ongoing virtual band, whether it be marching, drum and bugle corps. There was some hip hop. There was a whole bunch of different genres that went through this. And it's a program that brings everybody together. And that's kind of the impetus of our hang. So I really thought it was a nice kinship between the two. And the gentleman over there at Virtual Arts, Michael J. Miller, is a great composer and friend of mine who I met a few years ago. He brought me in, and with Jake and Brian over there. And so we're doing it again. There was a little bit discrepancy of sign up. The sign up closed a couple of days ago and now is reopened again, correct? For the third movement. There's a couple movements on this thing, but you can get involved for, I think it's $35, whether you play trumpet, you throw a rifle in the air, you dance. It brings everybody together, and it's this really cool thing. I'll let you expand on it more, but that's kind of my New York straight ahead take on it. It's just a virtual program that puts everybody together and plays music and does choreograph, and it's just a really cool concept, and it's a kind of a sub community. And so I'm very excited that I'll be playing on this. I'm going to be a feature, and there's another drummer who's a feature on it, and I'm excited about it. So did I touch on it? Is there any questions about that? Because I know it's kind of a broad thing and it's a new thing. So with the newness, a lot of people are not really, it's not very clear all the time.
No,
so.
It's you got it. No, I have the video if you want to show it, because I know there were a lot of people that weren't on last week that are on now. But just to give you guys the heads up, like Carl said, it is available for everybody. You don't have to just be a trumpet player. I mean, there's a list of musicians and instrument types, color guard, rifles, battery teams, frontline, synthesizers, piano, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, you know, Carl. Yeah, Carl's gonna baton twirl his horn. Yeah, perfect. There you go. But yeah, it was really cool. The first one they did, there was a little over 2,200 people, like Carl said. And basically, what happens is when you sign up, you get access to this original show. This particular one is in 3 parts, and actually, even though the sign up just reopened, I actually just confirmed with Virtual Arts that if you sign up through Carl's link, you'll actually be able to participate in the entire show, not just in the finale. So
that's a big word. You said
yes,
participate.
yes,
That's
I know you like
word.
participate and performance. Those are your two favorite. You love
performance.
Carl performs for a living.
I just want to choke you sometimes.
Hey,
actually, let's try the video. I mean, enough of us talking.
Yeah,
Show him the video, and then we'll get on with Wayne, because, you know, if I know Wayne, he's probably practicing. He's just one of those types of guys. I want to.
All right, here you go.
Change. It's all around us. We feel it. We see it. It can be unexpected. But resistance is pointless, as it will just leave us behind. It can be difficult, bring us comfort, or even reveal new opportunities. My friend and mentor, the late trumpet great Maynard Ferguson, once said, "I am a person of change, and I must be honest to my artistry and my creativity. This creativity shapes the change rather than merely waiting for it to happen. We, the creators, become the innovators as opposed to standing idle." When we accept the only constant in life is change, only then we can adapt and grow to meet the challenge. So that's the virtual art. See, I'm practicing microphone baton twirling. Don't do that with a Royer. That's why it's not a Royer. Anyway, so that's the kind of deal that we're dealing with. For lack of a better word, we're excited about it, and we'd love for you guys to join us. And I think we pretty much hit it, right, Stephen?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to jump forward unless you have anything to interject in that project. I'd like to interject that Stephen actually put the video together and did a wonderful job making me look somewhat presentable. So that's a pretty hard gig, man. You have a hard gig.
It took a while.
Yeah, I can imagine.
No, it was fun. It was my first playing around with green screens, so it was fun.
Yeah, did a good job, man. Well, cool. So yeah, go the link's on there, and Stephen will post it throughout the night. But without any more time, I know a lot of people are here to see the main event, and the main event is very exciting. So let's just talk about this. What can I say about my next guest and my good friend Wayne Bergeron that hasn't been said? Anybody, there's been a lot of great positive things that have been said about Wayne Bergeron on and off his horn. So I could go on and on. I could tell you the New Yorker in me has thought many times about Wayne. Can this guy Wayne be this positive, down to earth and funny and humble? Like, no, he can't always be that way. But ever since I heard Wayne in 1996 and met Wayne, he has showed these traits, and he's been consistently doing these things. That's a sign of a great lead trumpet player, I have to say, being consistent. So, for me, Wayne's always been an inspiration on and off the trumpet, which, he's a great humanoid. As Maynard would say, he's a superhuman being, and he's also a great earthling and humanoid. So, that says a lot. There's a lot of great trumpet players out there, but, Wayne's that and then some. So, if you guys are not familiar with Mr. Bergeron's accomplishments, any recording, motion picture soundtrack in the last 2 decades, it's a pretty sure bet that he's been on it. Wayne first caught the ear of the public when he first landed the lead trumpet chair with the Maynard Ferguson band in 1986. Wayne demonstrated daily of what Maynard remarked back then. Wayne is the most musical lead trumpet player he has had on Maynard's band. Maynard said that, and I concur. As a sideman, Wayne's recording credits reads like a who's who of jazz and pop, from the gamut from Ray Charles to Green Day to Beyonce, Barbra Streisand, Michael Bublé, Dirty Loops, Seth MacFarlane, Natalie Cole, Celine Dion, Diana Krall, Tito Puente, Christina Aguilera, Diane Reeves, Earth, Wind and Fire, Michael Bolton, the Pussycat Dolls, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's pretty safe bet that if you heard of any recording in the last 2 decades, or actually even 3 decades, it was Wayne. Not only that, what's amazing to me too is that is a pretty amazing discography, but then you add on 400 TV and motion picture soundtracks. For instance, the New Incredibles 2, Wreck-It Ralph 2, Crazy Rich Asians, The First, Smallfoot, The Predator, Sing, Frozen, Bridges of Spies, Toy Story 3, Monsters, University Planes, Despicable Me 1 and 2. That's very hard to say, Despicable Me. High School Musical 3, Pink Panther 2, Marley and Me, Get Smart, you name it. I mean, I could go on and on. I mean, he's on a million different TV and motion picture soundtracks. What's amazing with that career is not only has he done these things, he's also been a featured trumpet soloist on a lot of these pictures. So he's had trumpet features on La La Land, Rough Nights, Ted 2, Jersey Boys, The Incredibles, Rocky Balboa, The Green Hornet, The Smurfs 2, see, there's that word again, Despicable Me 2, Leatherheads, Princess and a Frog, Foolproof, 2 Days in the Valley, and then of course numerous TV credits: Golden Globe, the Academy Awards, SAG Awards, NBC, ESPN, TNT Sports Themes, American Idol in 2001 and 2, Emmy Awards, Grammy Awards, Latin Grammys, Family Guy. He's played on Jeopardy, America's Funniest Home Videos, Will and Grace. I mean, it just goes on and on. It's amazing. So if that isn't enough, he kind of went on his own back in 2004 and put out a wonderful solo big band record called You Call This a Living. And that debut project earned Wayne a Grammy nomination in 2004 for Best Large Jazz Ensemble. Had great rave reviews and press across the world. And the second CD, Plays Well with Others, was released on the Concord Jazz label in 2007, was met with the same acclaim. It's been a very positive experience and kind of brought Wayne into the forefront of his music. You know, it's really cool just to kind of see his passion for all these things. And, you know, Wayne, he inspires future generations of young players. I've seen it firsthand. I've seen him do clinics and workshops and be an educator. And he's wonderful at it. And he's been with the great, wonderful Yamaha Corporation for a number of years. And Wayne has stated himself, nothing makes him feel more accomplished than hearing a young musician say that Wayne has inspired them or had a positive influence on their life. For Wayne, that's his real payday. And I'd actually like to add to that. I'd like to include myself to this positively inspired Wayne list, because it's been an honor and a privilege for me to know Wayne and to have played with Wayne and know him for going on 35 years. I first heard Wayne when I was 14 years old in 1986. So, you know, the guy's a wonderful cat, and he's willing to hang out with me. So it's even better. Without further ado, let's say hello to Mr. Wayne Bergeron. What's up, Wayne? You there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yo, Carl, man. God, you're making me blush, man. Jesus, you said all those nice things about me. Nobody ever says nice stuff about me, but I appreciate
Well, you owe me money. So, you know, once I get paid,
yeah,
then you'll be a horrible guy again.
Hey, so do you remember when we met?
You know, I think, was it the Blue Note in 1986 with the small big band of Maynards?
So you were at that gig. Did I meet you at that gig though? Were you there?
I was there because was that Alan Wise? My question is, was it you and Alan Wise in 86 in the trumpet section?
Yeah.
You took me, I don't know if you remember this. Maybe I'm talking out of school. You and Alan took me across the street at the Blue Note in New York City in the Greenwich Village to McDonald's.
I do remember this.
That was you, bro. That was when I remember. And I was 14 years old. So that's
but thanks for reminding me of that, because my recollection of you is coming backstage 2 years later at the Jacksonville Jazz Festival with your dad.
That's
with
right.
Charlie.
Yeah, Charlie, God rest his soul.
And then the next time I saw you after that is when I came in to fill in when you were doing the record with Maynard in LA, and the trumpet player had left or they fired or something, and Maynard just brought me in to play in the section with you guys.
Yeah, brass attitudes.
And you called me Mr. Bergeron. You go, oh my God, Mr. Bergeron. And I go, Mr. Bergeron, what are you freaking talking about?
I thought you were going to punch me, yeah.
But that was so fun to do those few days with you guys, man. And that was, you know, that for my money, for Maynard's later bands especially, that was a good band, man. And getting on board with that band, having to come in and sight read everything, man, it was like getting on a moving train with you guys. You knew the book, you know, and you guys are ripping through these charts, man. I'm like, oh crap, music's all crappy and chewed out, you know, from being on the road. And
oh man, that was a freight. I know it's funny because we're jumping ahead. I was going to talk about that. For me, you know, having a New York, you know, I grew up in New York, and then coming out to LA, and, you know, that's when I first called you Mr. Bergeron. And then we went out with Frank Green, and we went out to eat, and we hung just like we're doing now. We're hanging out. But I remember, man, what was amazing to me was, yes, I knew the music. There was not a lot of new stuff. Maybe, you know, there was maybe a rewrite of something that Steve Weiss wrote that was fairly fresh. But I remember, you know, playing a second book with Frank, because we had we did a 2 trumpet tour for a minute, because one of the guys he couldn't play no more and he left the band, and you came in and sight read that book better than I played the book knowing the book. I wanted to punch you. Frank and I were looking at you like, you believe this guy? And that was my whole thing, was like, man, these guys out in LA really got their stuff together. And you're right, all the music was crumpled and wrinkled up and spit valves were on it. And you read it, and then you played some lead on some things, and it was just amazing, man. It was like a real eye-opening experience. It was like, man, this guy's sight reading a book, blending in the section, a lead player that blends in a trumpet section.
Well, with you guys, all I have to do is play as loud as I can, and I'm in there. I mean, that was a good. That was a good band, man. And Frank, you know, and I'd met Frank in '86 before that when he was on Woody's band, and I could do a whole hour on when we met and what he was going through at the time. But we've remained very good friends since then. But,
we all do, yeah.
But man, I just remember him crushing the session, man. Just like the guy, just like you have to hit him with a bat to get him to miss a note, you know.
Yeah.
He
No,
was just absolutely nails, I remember. And it was fun. Anyway, I'm proud I'm on that. You know, people go, man, you were on Maynard's band for a long time. I go, no, I was on Maynard's band for about, well, 8 months total of my life, 6 months in 2006
okay.
and a 2 month tour in 2088. But we remained friends. And
Sure.
whenever he needed a trumpet player to fill in on a gig, on a session, so I ended up on 4 CDs
Yeah.
because just for, people get on those bands just to get documented on a band. And we did Body and Soul my first week on the band.
You know, you're saying that. It's funny because there's a lot of young people that hang out with us. And the other day, I pulled this record out.
Oh my God.
And I haven't heard the record in ages. And I was feeling a little bit blue about, what's on my desk. You talked about a few things. I'm going to move some things around. What's on my desk here is Charlie at the Blue Note and Maynard and Charlie, my dad, Charlie at the Blue Note. And so I was feeling just a little bit melancholy about Maynard and my dad. And I picked, I was like, I haven't heard Wayne. And it was a tune called Beautiful Hearts that there's some soaring lead stuff on and some really nice things that you did, man. And I pull out the record and there's his signature. I had him sign it. And that was when I first met you. It hit me. I'm like, this was at the Blue Note.
Wow.
At 86 when you took me to McDonald's, man. So that's 35 years ago or 34 years ago. So
wow. So I wish we would have recorded that record in New York after we've been on the road for 6 months.
So this was a new record. You were on a band, what, a week before you recorded?
Yeah, we did like 1 or 2 gigs in LA. We did IAJE was my first gig.
Really?
So I'm nervous, it's like, and then we did 2 or 3 nights at Dante's, which was a jazz club that's no longer here. And then we went into Mad Hatter Studios and recorded that.
Wow, man. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember Rick Margitza and Tim Reese.
Yeah, it was a good band, and unfortunately the bass player and drummer are no longer with us. Dave Carpenter passed away a few years ago, and Dave Miller passed away. And that record, I mean, it could have been a really great record, but unfortunately the people at the helm of production, I know I'm saying this in public, so I won't mention any names, but the producing is so. Now that I do a lot of this myself, I just realize how bad it is, and it's like Maynard sounds like he's in a trash dumpster with a microphone in it, and it should be great. I'd like to get those tapes, man, and remix that record. That's what I'd like to do.
It's amazing that you say that because I feel the same way about a lot of his recordings. But what's amazing to me still, just listening to this the other day, it just came out of the blue. I'm like, sometimes the world's a mysterious place. Just things come on you. The lyricism that Maynard played with, certain things come out and is playing on that particular, every record, the melodic lyricism, and it's the music that he plays with. And that's why I love the quote he talks about you, about, the most musical lead player that he's had on his band. And you guys always had that symbiogy, and it's amazing to me when I hear these old records like this, like you said, the sound's kind of not happening. They're not old comparatively, but it's like the vibe comes through still. It's like
Maynard playing a ballad. I mean, he has such great ears. And he just hears all the right stuff. So when he goes up and soars, and then when he winds down is what I'm always impressed with. And he'll go over and hit some high note, then he'll go, and he'll wind down, and he'll hit the cool notes. He'll hit all the good shit,
all the good extensions
on the way down. And I was just always, when he'd play Body and Soul, it was always different every night, and he'd just play some beautiful, stuff. I mean, Maynard was a jazz player with a lot of range, let's face it, That's what he really was, and it used to, even though later in his life, he got away from blowing so much jazz and was just doing the other stuff. But he would always have, when I was on the band, there was always like moments of brilliance every night where he'd be playing a solo on something, and he'd play like a 6-bar like bebop line, and Alex Isles and I look at each other and go, "Oh my God, did you hear that? Where did that come from?" Yeah, he was Yeah, it was quite, I spent just a short amount of time, but I got to say, man, it was like a fun time in my life, and getting to stand on the stage with a band leader like that. Well, because you did it, man, and he was this so supportive and such a cool guy, and we all idolized him, so
No, absolutely. Yeah. For 12 years on and off the band too. And I was fortunate, just like you were, when he needed a trumpet player or had a recording come or something. It was like, I get the call. And if I couldn't do it, it was a small group of cats, De Blasio, Weiss, it was great. Tom Garling, Chip McNeil.
yeah,
It was always a cool bunch of guys and it was funny because from all different generations. I
right,
wouldn't
right,
say generation, but different bands.
yeah,
But we could go on and on with the Maynard thing. You're here. I want to talk about you because to me, now, what's amazing, I'll just preface this and tell me if I'm crazy or not. There's guys and girls that haven't heard Maynard ever live. It scares me to this day. I still think like, huh? I mean, so like they're living vicariously through your sound. And by you going and doing these recordings and education and so let's talk about you for a minute because you're an inspiration to me, brother. Honest.
Oh man, that's very sweet. I actually had this idea at one point about trying to do a Maynard, because I'm not really into Maynard tributes. I don't want to be Maynard, and I know you and I, we were both kind of approached about doing a ghost band after Maynard passed away, and we both gave our reasons why we don't want to do that. First of all, you don't want to go out in front of a band and go, oh, I'm leading the Maynard Ferguson band. You don't want to be that person or Buddy Rich nobody's ever going to live up to, well, first of all, that kind of playing, and you're always going to be compared to that.
Correct.
And no matter what you do different or how great you might play or where your heart is, it doesn't matter, hardcore, the trumpet players can be cruel.
No, I don't know. What are you talking about, Wayne? Trumpet players are not cruel.
So I'm not really into Maynard trades, but I did with Steve Weiss and Dennis De Blasio. We actually talked about, we were never on the band together, but we're good friends,
Sure.
We'd actually talked about doing like clinics and stuff in the spirit of Maynard Ferguson. The three of us would be the front line. They would write new music in the spirit of Maynard's band, and maybe if they're going to redo a chart, it would be completely different.
Sure.
If they're going to do MacArthur Park, it would be a completely different chart.
Put a different spin on it. Yep.
Different things like that, and then we would go out and do clinics and try to do some stuff like that. And I had the name for the band already. I the Principles of Maynard Ferguson.
Yep. Remember you telling me about this.
And unfortunately, because of politics and in business, and we couldn't use the name, and
Yeah.
And then so I came up with another name, and he came up with the name of Primal 3.
Oh, cool.
And then we actually got a manager.
Okay.
And we figured Steve was at UNT. We figured we could get the UNT band, and we could do a tour. They could be the band, and it could be this great thing. And we could teach people that haven't seen Maynard Ferguson about what his spirit was about anyway. And then we had one meeting on the phone, and our schedules were all so busy there was no way we could ever do it. And so it just went by the wayside. And because we did a couple of gigs together, the three of us.
Sure.
At the Elmhurst College Jazz Festival, we were the guest artist.
Okay.
And the only thing was missing was you. We would have had our own little rat pack, man, because
I would love to have been there.
Because it was so funny. It was just the laughs were just, and then we judged the festival too. So, at the end of the day, we're getting punchy. It was just insane. And that's when I came up with the idea, man, we got to do, because we had a good banter on stage together, and we didn't plan anything. We just we did it, and we had people laughing, and it was, it was very fun, and in the spirit of Maynard, because he was funny,
Yeah.
So doing tributes, I'm not really into. I just want to be, when I go out and do guest artist stuff, I don't do Maynard charts in general.
Sure.
Because I have my own music that was written for me, and I once again, I don't like being compared to Maynard. And I'm never, nobody's going to play the stuff as great as him ever.
Yeah, there's one Wayne, and there's one Maynard, and there's one Eric Miyashiro, and that's, how many times did Maynard tell me, and I'm sure he told you this, play you, not me.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. And so when I see people doing Maynard, but plagiarism,
no one does that. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
Have you seen that before?
It really drives me crazy. I just Maynard's rolling over in his grave, kicking his way out, going, "Let me out of here!"
I'm gonna punch him, Wayne.
Yeah, because it's just,
punch him.
because I mean, I like seeing people play tribute, like the way Eric does it, you know,
Sure.
and he's such a great trumpet player, you know, and there's, you know, this guy Lars Lundgren.
Oh yeah, he's a monster. Yeah,
Man, he did a
he's killer.
Maynard record. I talked
Uh,
about it on another, you know, Zoom thing
Uh-huh.
recently. But man, he did a record where he did redid some of Maynard's tunes.
Sure.
But man, he really, the way he paid tribute to it, but put his own spin on it, was really, really cool. And I remember complimenting on that and the way
Sure.
the record sounded, and I kind of liked that one. So, but those are few and far in between. A lot of times they're just like, oh, not another. We're doing Rocky again, or we're
Oh
doing.
yeah. No. Yeah, you cannot Maynard. I had a, you know, if you remember, with Frank Green was the lead player in that band in New York. I had a band called the Nouveau Big Band, New Big Band, and
Mhm.
it, you know, we play obscure things, and I had some different Jocko Astorius arrangements. I had some odd Maynard stuff, and had some
Yeah.
reharm stuff, and it was good. And I just tried. We all tried to play it like ourselves, and we did really fun. We had a lot of fun, but you know, for me, and it's the same thing I'm sure you get. Everybody wants us to go out and do these tributes, and that's all well and good. But for me, I'm jumping ahead of myself again, but we'll just, since we're on the subject, for me, it was that one right after Maynard passed away in St. Louis, the original tribute concert.
Oh my
I
God, that was an
remember,
emotional night, man.
oh my God, playing Blue Blurred Birdland and opening up, and you looking at me, and the whole trumpet section were all crying, and I had to play the harmony mute solo. And I could barely even breathe, man. There it is. Yep.
Wow.
And
Well,
then
you know,
Maria
I got to
stand.
I got to tell you though, man, because you know the reason we were crying is because so the audience knows they showed this big video collage
Oh yeah.
before we walked on stage, and we could see it from backstage, and it was just heart wrenching.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody was crying, so we walked out, and
Mess.
we were ready to bring it too,
Yeah.
you know. And your Harmon solo and your open solo on Blue Birdland, and I know I told you this before. I mean, they were my favorite solos.
Oh,
And
thank you.
I wasn't kidding when I said that, man. You were the most swinging, you know. I mean, other than my screech solo, which was really tasty. I remember. No, you just played that G concert blues, man, and you swung so hard, man,
Thanks, bro.
and
Thank
and
you.
I remember thinking, well, that's the shit right there, you know. That's what I like, you know. But everybody, there was a lot of great playing that went on that night, and
I think you did Mac Park. You did a lot of things, but I remember too, man. You put your stamp on it, and that's what Maynard wanted. He wanted guys to play like themselves.
yeah, you
And
know,
that's
when we played Mac Park, because I was playing on so much stuff in the section
sure.
and on the gig, I was getting tired, man. And I said, man, I got to take off a couple of tunes before I play this.
Yeah,
So that was whatever tune was right before it I didn't play on. I said, man, somebody come up here
I remember that. Yeah.
and get in the section because I was running out of steam, you know, and I had to play that. So, and then I don't know if you remember what was just funny about that is I was supposed to blow first, then Tom Garling was supposed to blow, and I had planned it that way because I wanted to rest before I had to go back into the high stuff at the end, and then. And then I went to play, and you can see in the video. And then Tom starts playing. I was like, "Oh!"
I remember that. Yeah.
But it was okay, you know. I mean, it was just whatever, you know. I got through it just fine, and I could have probably played it a little better, but whatever, you know. It's all about, you know, the giving a tribute to Maynard anyway, man, and his legacy. And that crowd was
Oh,
awesome, and it was you know, it was really an awesome way to do it. And I got to hand it to Steve Shankman. He did a really great job of putting that together. And
yep. Hey,
there
look
we
at
are.
that picture.
Look at those cats, man.
We were definitely on a diet back then. Huh?
That's some fried chicken eating cats right there, man.
That's when we went to. That was the night we went to White Castle.
My ex-wife was there, and she drove the van. Remember?
She drove we had a big 15 passenger van.
and we might have possibly been drinking. And
No,
you know,
not at
she
all. What
drove.
are you talking about? Not at
And
all.
so that was a lot of laughs, man, and a fun.
That was fun.
and
It was extreme happiness and sadness, but it had the vibe of the tribute. And so now I'm sure, and I'm sure it's happened to you. You get calls and you want to do them, but realistically, how do you top that? At that, like you said, the audience is just amazing. Now.
I couldn't agree. Every once in a while, I'll do one of the tunes. I'm so, hey, would you mind doing this
Yeah.
Country Road or something? Actually, I like doing the older stuff.
Yeah, it's fun, right?
I mean, Mac Park's fun, but I like doing stuff that I never do. Like, you know,
Gospel
I did
John.
Country Road, and when I was in Holland, that was kind of fun. And
Did you?
because I just always liked the tune anyway. Even when James Taylor did it, I liked it. You know, so
Wow.
but in general, you know, I just they've asked me to play the tune Maynard Ferguson. I said, "Are you out of your mind? I'm not going to try to play that in front of people." I mean,
Smart choice.
oh
Smart choice.
God. I mean, I've learned a few things. I've learned when not to play. I'll tell you that. If I've learned anything over the years, you know.
You know, I'm going to go back though. So we're on the Maynard thing. We'll hit that again. I'm sure Steven has questions. But your first instrument, I like to go back because I learn a lot about people on these hang nights. Was French horn, man.
Yeah, I
What
started on
made
a
you
French.
start that, and how
Well,
did you get out of it?
My oldest brother, was a marching instructor for like a local drum and bugle corps where I grew up. So I
Okay.
used to go with him and he babysat me. So I'd sit on the sidelines, and so I became interested, you know, in playing something, and I wanted to play drums. He's like, "No, we're not going to have that in the house." You know? Even though he didn't live there, he was like 22 years older than me. But anyway, they put me on in the beginning corps on French horn bugle, like a bell forward French horn,
Yeah, yeah.
and you know, with a rotor valve and a piston, thumb piston thing. And I started playing that, and that was going into seventh grade.
Okay.
So, you know, summer going in. So my parents, because I showed some interest in music, they put me in public school, a beginning band, and so I got my first real French horn. I'll make the story very quick because
No,
most
I
people
love it,
know it.
man.
But
This is the stuff I love,
my
bro.
school got vandalized. French horn got destroyed.
Perfect.
Switched to trumpet. Yeah, it was so whoever these guys, whatever prison these guys are in now, I'd like to thank them for my career. You know, so so I switched to trumpet, and when I picked up the trumpet, now I'd been playing the French horn for a few months at this point. And when I picked up the trumpet for the first time, because of the shape of the mouthpiece and stuff, I went to play a note and I squeaked out some high note, like "Beep," you know, like, and I played a double high C because my band director went to the piano, and he goes, and I just thought I sucked. I was like, "That sounds awful," you know. And he goes, "Oh, man," he went to the piano. He goes, "Man, that's a double high B flat concert." I go, "Is that good?" He goes, "That's good for 11, you know, or
Yeah.
12, you
Wow.
know." So I had some like natural range,
Cool.
and that developed kind of quickly. And then, you know, he started playing me Maynard Ferguson
All right.
and some of these kind of trumpet players. So I started hearing this sound in my head, and I started imitating that. He
Okay.
even had, when I was in the eighth grade, no, I was in ninth grade, he had, because the chart wasn't available, Bridge Over Troubled Water, he had somebody transcribe that chart for me.
Really? What? That young? That's
And I
good.
played
Yeah.
it. I played that chart in high school in the ninth grade. I mean, I don't think I, you know, hit it out of the park or anything, but I played it, you know.
Hey, man, you played it. That's the
And
main.
so I was very much into that record. I really liked a lot that, you know, with Stony End on it and all those pop tunes. For some reason, that one, Fire and Rain, I always just
Fire and Rain.
I,
Yeah.
I loved that. You know, I loved that. So anyway, that was very inspirational for me. Then he started introducing me to other trumpet players. You know,
Okay.
Maurice Andre, I remember my teacher introduced me to, because he
Oh, very
played
good.
me some stuff, him playing high stuff, because, you know, he had some great chops. And he introduced me to Freddie Hubbard and just different players, and Louis Armstrong,
Yeah.
and one of the things that he taught me was to be stylistically diverse
Okay.
and don't be
Back
one
then.
thing.
Wow. Cool.
And so, you know, even though I was never really an improviser, I was learning a lot about different styles of music back then. And
Okay.
so as a kid, he would even get me on some society bands with him, like
Okay.
pro bands. He'd have me play fourth trumpet.
Yep.
And he'd have me play a high G on the end of something, like play a high G on the end of this. And then the old guys would turn around and go, "That's my student." He was like very funny that way, you know, but he did that so I could get the experience
Yep.
and learning how to use the right vibrato for the right style of music.
Sure.
And you know, and we'd play classical music together. And even though I wasn't a classical player, I had a little bit of understanding of how to bounce the notes. And so as I grew up, I was kind of ahead of the curve a little bit than people, you know, other teenagers.
Sure.
Like I knew how to play, you know, Pennsylvania 6/5000 with the right vibrato, you know,
Yeah. You had it together.
and
Yeah.
even though it's, you know, it's kind of, you know, dorky tunes and stuff, but it's
You made money. That was your
you play
introduction
you
to
play
Kansas
you play
City.
it right. And he always said, play to the era of the music.
There it
You're
is.
playing Count Basie, Shiny Stockings. You play it the way the band plays it. You don't play it like Maynard Ferguson. You don't play it, you know, you do the shakes the way they were done by the great lead trumpet players that played through the band and recorded that tune. So he was always a stickler for that. And so fast forward to now, it's the way I make my living.
Yeah.
You know, 'cause I go in and there's all different styles. Am I great at everything? No, you know, nobody's great at everything, but I'm pretty good at a lot of stuff.
Sure.
You know, and we all have our strengths. You know, I like playing lead trumpet. That's what I do. You know, I like sitting in a big band and playing lead trumpet. I don't like being down front.
Yeah.
You know, or I like playing in a pops orchestra, playing first trumpet. You know, so those are the things I like to do. But if I'm on a movie and they say, "Hey, we need this Dixieland thing," I can be convincing and sound like I kind of know what I'm doing. You know, just because you learn, you listen to some of those players, and you listen to what they do to the end of the notes and the way they bounce the time and
Yeah.
just all that stuff. You know,
Make a living.
but it's been very lucrative for me to be able to do that. You
I
know,
remember. Yeah.
and so always look back. I go, he taught me everything I needed to know.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to get my crap together as a trumpet player and learn how to really play the trumpet. You know, but those skills that he taught me were very valuable and probably the most valuable.
You know, it's funny because I'll fast forward it, you know, and put it in my recollection. That record where we did in Santa Barbara with Maynard Brass Attitudes, you came up and I was struggling in New York, man. I actually couldn't even afford keeping my apartment in New York. I had my stuff in storage. And you were like the session guy. You came out and read this book, and then the next day, I think you were doing like a classical thing. You were booked. You showed me your calendar. You had sessions between sessions and gigs, and you were doing a show. I remember you picking Frank and I up in it was a brand new sports car, and we sat on I call it the parking lot. We sat on the you know, the freeway, the parkway, and went like 5 miles an hour. And I said, man, this guy's playing all this types of music, and he has a house and he has a nice sports car. I'm like, that's when I always thought prior to that, I have to learn a lot of different styles, you know, and that was like one of the few times where I could actually hear it in someone's playing. You know, I think you even took me to a session. Because we stayed in LA that whole week after. You took us around quite a bit. I heard your work styles, and it was totally opposite. Like, man, he could switch hit. That's pretty amazing. I learned really quick. I'm like, all right, I was always a jazz player, and I was not a great lead player, and I don't consider myself still a great lead player, but I can do it. And that was one of the things that Faddis was telling me too. He goes, all right, I need you to play lead on this and you know, make the gig. And a lot of guys don't want to do that, or, you know, jump into a pops thing. And you were doing all of that back, you know, in the late 80s, I guess. I mean, which is amazing to me. And so, no. So the French horn there were one trumpet player, and we're going to open up the questions after this, around that same age with your wonderful teacher there. Was there one guy that changed you? Would it be your trumpet teacher at that point that changed your outlook and style? And how did Maynard fit into that whole thing when you were a kid? Was it
Well, my teacher, I mean, I kind of idolized my teacher.
Okay. So
you know, I stuck up for him a lot. He was my junior high band.
What was his name?
Ron Savitt.
Okay.
Ron Savitt. So I idolized him. I just thought he could do no wrong, you know, and I listened to the way he played and what he told me. And he loved Maynard too. So we had a great sound system. We put these albums on, man. He had these great speakers, and we were just like, love it. You know, he was cool. He was my friend, even though I was just a kid. You know, he was a good guy, and he, you know, I think he's proud of me now. You know that I've done okay. You know, but it's really because of him. Yeah. But you know, obviously the Maynard thing had a huge influence in my thing, because I started imitating Maynard, and even in jazz band in school, you know, we have a note on the end of a thing that went, it was just a high E to go, do bop. And of course, I'd try to play, you know, double high Q, and the guys in the band will get pissed off at me. They go, "Why are you doing that?" And I go, "Because it's cool." And they go, "No, it's not cool." I go, "Yeah, it is." And you know, but anyway, and even the band director said, "I just played the written note." And I remember getting bugged, like thinking, "Well, you know, they're telling me what to play." You know, they were right.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Play what's on the page. You know, if it happens to be high Q, you play high Q, unless you got some artistic license, you know, from the composer or the boss. You know, it would always really bug me. I got to tell you this. Like, I'd be in a band, and the third trumpet player would cap the last chord. You know, put a G on her, and I remember looking over this guy, who remained nameless. You might not know who he is anyway, because this was with Jack Sheldon's band. We were rehearsing way back in the day. And this trumpet player had good chops too, and good player, but played like a high A on the end of something. I got a high D on the lead trumpet part. And Kubis had redone the whole book for Jack, you know, done like 200 charts, you know. Yeah. And so we're playing this thing, and I go, "Oh, that's weird that there'd be a higher note on the third trumpet book." I go, That's how he goes, well, I'm just kind of feeling it. And I go, well, I'm going to have to call Tom Kubis up and let him know, man, you got a better way to voice a chord than he does. So that was my, that's what I say now when people do that, when they start hot dogging,
Yeah.
And I mean, if you're playing lead, like I know the book, and Tom always encourages that, if we're on the last chord, sometimes you might look at me and go like, give me an A or G or whatever,
Yeah.
And Ray Anthony used to do that in his band too. He'd look back, he'd go, somebody give me a high note,
Go for it. Yeah.
But that's, that's okay. But in general, I think the rule of thumb has to be, man, you play what's on the page, you honor the music to the style it's supposed to be, and if it's Maynard Ferguson, you play, you play with the spirit of Maynard Ferguson. If it's Count Basie, you play with the spirit of Count Basie.
There it is.
You put the time where that's you play the note lengths the way they play it, and I think that's how we do that. What we're supposed to do anyway.
Well, you do a smashing job of it, my man. That being said, talking about smashing, is Steven smashing his desk, falling asleep over there? Did we lose him? Is he all right?
Come on, say something. Ask a question. Or...
I'm here, buddy.
Man, where you at?
Nursing my head.
You got a headache. He has a headache.
Very, very stressed over here. No, I'm just kidding. No, we got a good hang going on in the chat room, actually.
What do you got? Who's out there? We got people actually checking Wayne.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh-oh.
Since you guys called out a couple specific people, I'll say hello to them first. You guys mentioned Steve Shankman. Steve's hanging out with us tonight, so.
Man, I'm glad I didn't say anything
Yeah.
bad about him now.
Does he owe you money? Steve, you owe us money now. We love you, Steve.
Yeah, so Steve's hanging out. Steve says hello. We got a couple of our hang regulars. We got Ezekiel and the guys at the JOG Corner Store hanging out again. We got Noah's hanging out. Noah actually has a couple questions we'll get to here in just a second. We got the whole world checking in. We got Australia, we got Chile, we got Japan, we got all Canada.
Awesome.
Got a good hang group tonight.
Okay.
So already got 100 people chiming in here. So you guys let me know if you wanna get to a couple questions. I'll start at the beginning and we'll go to the end.
Yeah, I mean, I got 10 questions for Wayne, but sometimes we need a little break. Let's get a little Wayne, you ready to do a little influx of someone else's question?
Sure.
Let's see what you got.
Let's see here. The first one though is Noah actually asked you, Wayne, with all of the accolades that Carl mentioned earlier in the intro, do you ever sit back and just look at the list of things that you've done, and kind of how does it make you feel when you look back and see like some of those iconic things?
Well, if I said I wasn't, didn't have a little bit of pride in my career, I'd be lying. I mean, I feel extremely fortunate. I wish my mother was still alive.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of an awestruck, starstruck at 62 years old, man. When I go to work, and I'm not kidding, when I'd go to work with players like Gary Grant and Chuck Finley, and getting to sit in a section with these guys, even when I was like 55 years old, I'm saying, it's Gary Grant. He's my friend. He produced my records. I mean, I that's how I feel about it. And all those players, that are still around here, I look at my career and I always just feel how lucky I am and how fortunate I am that the stars aligned at the right time. I mean, because this stuff could go a lot of different ways, in the music business. And and if you don't have if your preparedness meets opportunity thing is not right, and you're not ready, and you get on some gig and then you never get called back, so you don't do a good job, and so I feel like all the things that happened to me happened at the right time, and there's a little bit of fate and a little bit of luck involved, and you got to be able to do the job, of course. But anyway, I'm happy with the way things have turned out, of course.
Cool. And is there any specific one of those things that you just, when you showed up on the day of the gig, it was just overwhelming? You couldn't believe that you were getting to do that thing, even after you've done all these other things.
There's been a lot of those, but I'm going to tell you, of all the cool gigs I've done in my career, meeting
Yeah.
Maynard was still like, I remember him walking in the room, at my first rehearsal, and I was like, oh, there's that guy, man, that did all that stuff. I was 28 years old at that time, or 27, but as far as like work, the coolest thing in many ways that I've ever done just happened in my life just recently, and I'm not allowed to talk about it because it's a movie that I'm worked on. And I'll give you a hint. The movie takes place in New York City. I did all the recording sessions in New York City. I flew back and forth like 5 or 6 times to record with a very famous orchestra from New York. Their name rhymes with the New York Philharmonic. Yeah. So they recorded the score, but I was brought out to play first trumpet as well as a couple of LA musicians. And the movie score has a lot of tritones in it. There might be some dancing and some gangs involved, some dancing gang members. So anyway, it's one of I played that music a few times live with that orchestra, in a live setting, and so when they did the movie, I ended up getting asked to be on the soundtrack. So I was getting flown back and forth from New York, and I met up that picture of you and I on the streets in New York. That's from
eating food,
one of my trips.
Yeah.
So playing on that and sitting Euan Racy, there it is, Euan Racy, who played first trumpet on this movie. I also studied with a little bit and was a very good friend of his, and my band played at his memorial. And
Wow.
so getting to sit in his chair,
Wow.
on this iconic thing with this great orchestra and these great players, and was pretty amazing. I mean, and I think all the cool stuff. But for me, getting to go back there, I truly felt I was getting the rock star treatment too, which is, Carl, you were on the road with Billy Joel, so you know what the rock star treatment is like. So, a sideman in the studios, as glamorous as it sounds, you're just another schmuck when the session's over. I come home and I gotta, take out the trash and
mow the lawn, walk the dog.
yeah. But this, I was getting flown out there, and I was out there with the production team, and I just got treated so amazingly well, and all of it was first class. So it was really nice. And then getting there and then having sitting with that great orchestra and sitting next to Chris Martin, who's just the whole section. They're great players, man. And man, they made me feel extremely welcome. You're walking into somebody else's backyard here.
Yeah.
They're going, well, you don't need to bring anybody in here, but I felt like
open
family.
arms. They had open arms.
I felt like family, and it busts that myths about New Yorkers, man. Because the New Yorkers are like, some of my closest friends are all New Yorkers, and they're all the coolest people I know. It's all the dumbasses are out here.
I always made me laugh, like guys in New York. Ah, man, forget this town. I'm going to L.A. I want to play film scores. And then, I get a call. You and I would talk. It's like, hey, man, you know this guy from New York? I'm like, yeah. He's out there now. I'm like, I'll end up somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, that happens. That happens a lot here. It's interesting. People come out with aspirations of being, they want to do film work, and that's you move to any town, you got to be prepared to sit for several years, as no matter how great you play.
Yes, sir.
But you get your chance, and maybe you get on something, and if you keep your mouth shut, do a great job, fit in with the section, there's a good chance that whoever's the other trumpet players are will say, they'll tell the contractor, oh yeah, such and such was great.
Did a good job. Yeah.
But if you're there trying to get discovered, and there's always like these people that come in, it's kind of funny, like people will come in with high accolades from a big school or something, and or they're the composer's nephew or whatever, And I treat everybody nice when a new person comes in, because I was treated nicely, Sure. But you come in, and if you don't act right, and if you're not bringing it, you're telling everybody how great you are. Man, you can't come into a lot of people like to talk about, oh, yeah, I do this and I do that. I can play a double high C and I can play. Well, you don't really need to say that. All you have to do is pick up your horn and start playing, and we'll know exactly how you play. We're going to know. And usually when you have to talk about how good you are, that means there's some shortcomings in there somewhere, So I've watched many trumpet players that may be good at one genre or something come and go. And I watch the players that stick, and I watch the younger players coming up that are even passing me up now, these young, good, great player, little a-holes, but have done it right, man. And like, have taken the advice that I've given them on how to get in the business, and the way I got into the business, I had some of the older guard like me,
Sure.
because I was
You are
playing in a big
raising
band
you
with Warren
along the
Looning or something, and Warren Looning would happen to recommend me, and that's kind of how you get into any job, really. It's word of mouth,
Sure.
you know. So, that's how I kind of got into this business, and it was a slow go.
Sure.
It wasn't like, I just arrived, I did a session, go, okay, I should be on the list. I'm ahead of everybody now. It doesn't work like that. You get in, you get your shot, you get another shot, you get another shot. You got to keep proving yourself. It's like I always, say, orchestra musicians audition once and get the gig. We audition every day.
Yeah. You're as good as your last gig.
Exactly. And, I go in, I go in on a soundtrack and I sneak it up for a composer that doesn't know who I am. He's going to go, yeah, I wasn't very good. I was having a bad day
Yeah.
or bad casting. Maybe I shouldn't have been playing first trumpet. I'm the I'm going to say Roman Gabriel and date myself, Rams quarterback. I'm the Roman Gabriel of lead trumpet because it's all about passing.
Yeah.
Oh, here, you play this,
And that's because you're secure. You're not insecure. Because you know what your positive strengths are. I can't tell you how many guys I play with, and you and Frank Green especially, man. It's funny. Frank's really good that way too. He's like, oh, Carl, you might be able to swing this better, or he's great at passing things because you're not afraid of losing your gig, and you're serving the music.
Well, when it comes down to it, that's what we're supposed to do, especially on a film call, because the people, those producers on the other side of that glass, they don't care who's who back there.
Nope.
They want the orchestra to sound great. And if somebody's, not making it, which I've seen that happen, a few times where somebody's miscast.
Yeah.
And doesn't have enough common sense to go, hey, maybe such and such should play this. I mean, I've had John Lewis next to me a few times. I go, John, will you please play that?
Yep.
I mean, if you weren't here, I would play it and nobody would know the difference because you're not here. But if you're here, it's going to sound a lot better if you play it, because it's what you do. This is you, we all got our strengths and this is your thing. And
Sure.
and he's done the same thing with me, if thing comes up with a shake on a high E, he's like, hey, you cover that. We're there to serve the music. And so we all get called back.
Yeah. As a unit.
Yeah. So I work with, I work with the same nucleus of players a lot.
Yeah.
And it changes a little bit, but it's all because they're tried and true proven players and have done this. John Lewis, Rob Shear,
Yep.
Dan Rosenboom, Mike Rocha. These are younger players that are coming up now.
Okay.
And Chuck Finley still works. He's still playing and kicking butt. And
I bet.
and there's a lot of good. Barry Perkins, is another great player. Dave Washburn, Marisa Benedict. There's a lot of really great crossover trumpet players in this town, that I'm neglecting to name all of them, but and great lead players and people that specialize. So the job can get, if you have your ego so big you think they can't do it without you, I got news for you. They can do it without you. They don't need you,
They can, yeah.
So, and I feel that way about my job all the time. Every time I go in, I got to go in, okay, but I go in with the attitude like I think anybody should with any job. Get there and make it so they can't do it without you, or they don't think they can.
Okay.
So I just try to go in with a positive attitude, take care of business, play well, and then they see you a bunch of times. They go, oh, man, it's always, when these trumpets are here, it's always good.
Yeah, it's always positive.
It's always, man, they always sound good, and no matter what it is, oh, that guy's playing the piccolo trumpet on the end. Wow. Man, what a team, Yeah. So that's, what you have to try to do, and that's in any line of work.
Sure.
If you want to be successful. So I don't know if it's, if I've just been lucky or, minding those rules has helped. Maybe a little bit of both. I've always tried not to be an a-hole. And I have a-hole potential. You can just trust me on that.
We all do, man.
I get pissed off and frustrated with stuff I see going wrong. But I usually try to fix it instead of just put my thumb on it,
Sure. Absolutely.
There's been very few times where I've gotten mad at a section mate in the section, but I have said, hey, will you play softer, please?
Yeah.
Because I've just put up with it for a long time and they're not seeming to get it. Then I put the headphone on the side and I'm moving over and they go, well, why didn't you say something? I go, well, I thought I was, but
body language, yeah.
But you were talking about lead trumpet players that blend and don't blend. If somebody doesn't have a lot of experience playing in a section, they tend to overplay or not know how to, all the bananas are going this way and one's going this way, in the bunch. And it's like bass trombonists that just play bass trombone.
Yeah.
And they've never played second trombone. A lot of them overplay.
Yes.
They think it's a solo instrument. And Bill Rockenbach, you listen to him play, and the sound is perfect. It blends perfectly, but it sticks out a little bit like it's supposed to, just like the lead trumpet's supposed to poke out a little bit.
Yep.
And the Barry's supposed to poke out. But obliterating the band, because the bass trombone can obliterate the band, as you know.
Yeah.
And but it's only because I don't fault them. They sound great, but they're always being told to play softer because they're not used to playing second trombone, or they don't know what it feels like to be in the inside.
It's a lost art. Second trombone, second trumpet. I think it's a lost art. I really do. And a lot of lead players don't know. They're in that situation where they always have to poke out. So trying to blend, and my biggest lesson was actually probably at that session back again, that Maynard session, playing with two strong lead players, how you blended in the section. And Frank, when I played with Frank Green a lot, he was always cognizant of, hey man, let's attack it this way. And he was very helpful with my section playing. So was John Owens and a bunch of great trumpet players. But
yeah, John's another great player, man.
Joey Tartell was, as soon as I got on the banjo, he was like, all right, we really got to work on this. Let's work on cutoffs. And but it's a lot, because now you look at it, there's a very few from far between. There's not a lot of sections to play in. Usually it's all you, or with a trombone player and a tenor player or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's a lost art, and you have these things in schools, but schools is one thing. You get to a session with you in LA, man, or in New York, and a thing, you got to really know where your place is in that voicing and the chord.
Yeah, exactly. And where to put the thirds and the thirds, the flatted thirds and the major thirds, where the pitch is supposed to be, all of that stuff,
Yeah.
So, not that I would pay any attention to pitch, but
it's baseball, isn't it?
The pitch, I like to get it up around 448 so it cuts.
Nice and sharp. Yeah.
I actually had a trumpet player who was going to have to remain nameless. Because,
I know who it is.
But he actually, I put a tuner on a stand at one point because this person was playing so sharp, and he said, "Oh, that's where I like to play because it cuts."
Yeah.
And I was thinking, well, I don't know. Are we going to retune the bass and the mallet instruments? Are we going to retune everything?
It cuts all right. What?
Well, I will say a lead trumpet is better sharp than flat. I mean, if I had to have my preference, because if it's up a couple of cents, it's not so. But if it's low, I've been accused of playing low on many occasions because I'm always trying not to be sharp, because in the studios here, everything's so down to pitch.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to play really true to pitch, and sometimes I'll go, I sound a little blue. I might not even be flat. It just sounds blue.
Compared to,
I'll try to brighten it. I have recordings I hear that I go, I should have brightened that note up a little bit, Yeah. But, it's too late now. It's in the history books, and we live and learn, and,
Maynard always, it was funny because Maynard had a thing. He always played high on the pitch.
Yeah.
And me playing with Billy and a lot of rock situations, a lot of open guitar, keys, key of E is a lot of open strings, and a lot of those open strings on guitars go sharp. Yeah. So the bands naturally, the rock things, especially in loud arenas, everything goes sharp. So I know, man, if I play on pitch, I'm kind of out of tune. And Maynard's band was like that too. But 48, no.
Yeah. Pitch obviously is relative. It's a very distant relative with some players. That's another master class for another day, But some orchestras tune to 442 and 443.
Yep.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
It gets a certain brilliance, or tuning lower than that, it can really bring out some colors. And so, but in general, we look at 440 like standard pitch, because the world we live in now of synthesized instruments and samples, everything is at 440.
Yeah.
And so when we're playing with tracks like that, that's why you'll see me with a tuner on my bell sometimes. It's not because I have to stare at it because I don't have any ears, as people have accused me of. People will always say, man, I got two tuners right here on each side of my head. And I'm going, yeah, well, all right. And I get pissed off, and I'm going, really? You don't think I'm listening? I do that sometimes because I can't hear something. Sure. And it helps me. If I hear something that's funky in the room, I'll throw the tuner up to look. Let me see where I'm at.
Yeah.
And make sure my ears aren't deceiving me, because if I hear the bass is sharp, I'm going to immediately start playing sharp to the bass
Absolutely.
with the bass because my ear makes
Okay.
me go to. I'm overly generous that way. If somebody's next to me and they're playing a little high, I'm going to play a little high to make it sound good.
Sure.
If they're not getting it, you know.
Yep. Absolutely.
So
Interesting.
you know, it's a just an interesting way of thinking about this. So I think about, I've actually weaned myself. You know, I have tuners here and stuff, but I try to shut my eyes when I play when I'm practicing, and I look for the middle of the notes,
Okay.
and I'll have the tuner on, and then I open my eyes and I see if where I hear it, the middle of the note is right,
Oh, cool.
and it usually is. A lot of times, if you're looking at a tuner, like if you're looking at it,
Uh-huh.
it will do a number on your thing, and you'll start playing out of tune. You'll start playing. You'll start going, oh, it's sharp, so you start trying to play down, really down to pitch. But if you shut your eyes and just played the same line, then open your eyes, you would be down to pitch.
Huh. That's interesting.
It's something I've discovered right here in my home studio all the time
Really?
because I'm playing by myself here recording stuff,
Sure.
and I'll throw a tuner on the stand because I might be the first person putting the track on, you know,
Yeah.
and I just want to make sure that I'm in, you know, I'm not riding high. It's easy to, what feels good sometimes is not good
Sure.
when other people are going to have to play after you.
It's funny you mention that because I have a piano here. It's not. I tune a piano. It's easy to tune a piano, but to tune a fish is very hard.
Oh, yeah, oh,
No, I
definitely.
mean,
That reminds me of that band, that soul band, Sam and Dave.
Simon David tune a fish.
Hey, Carl, do me a favor. I want you to tell a joke. I'm going to go get a glass of water.
Okay, yeah. So one time at band camp,
Yeah.
speaking of which, though, since we're here, any questions that are not for Wayne? Anything
Yeah.
I can cover, like how to eat a sandwich while you're playing a middle C while you're fishing. Maybe that's one of my
Yeah,
specialties.
we got a couple things here. Dan Potts is just saying hello.
What's up, Dan?
Jay saying, "Hey Carl, can't wait for Billy to be back out on the road with you playing again." So that's good.
Sorry.
Our buddy Josh Weeble is here, hanging out.
What's up, Josh? We miss you, buddy. Josh, is
Yeah,
out.
I'll stop being so long-winded, man. I'm sorry. I get
No, it's
talking.
all, we
and,
love this, man. People are commenting, loving the
Yeah.
stories, man.
I can
Wow,
talk.
people are
Oh,
digging it.
good, man. We don't want to kill you either. We know it's you know, we know it's a long day for you.
I get
Hold on,
dried. I get dried out. I drink a ton of water since these cancer treatments.
Mhm.
Man, the radiation has kind of fried my saliva glands a bit. So when I'm talking a lot, that's why you see me drinking water.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it, but at night really sucks when I'm trying to sleep. But
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well,
sure.
Wayne, for people who don't know, I think we might as well just touch on that really quick. Not only is Wayne a great superhero, he has a superhero
I have a superhero
skeleton
mask.
there, mask. So you had throat cancer. You're a survivor of throat cancer, correct?
Yeah, I had a tumor right here. It was diagnosed in March. I started my treatments in May 11th. 35 radiation treatments and 7 weeks of chemo. And
God bless.
I know it sounds like it's really fun. There's nothing fun about it. I've lost. Those of you know me, I'm a pretty stout dude,
Yeah.
but I'm
Thin,
I'm
man.
40 pounds lighter. And this is something that you fit. You lay on the table and they put this over your head, then they bolt your head down, and then they fry you. You don't feel anything, but it's over time it accumulates, and it really jacked me up, man, in a lot of ways. But I played, other than my first week of chemo when I got sick. I got so sick from the first week.
Good.
By the third week, I took 2 weeks off, and I started practicing while I was doing all this. And it got to the point where my throat hurt so bad I could barely hit a G on top of the staff.
Oh wow.
But I used that time to practice what I could practice, and worked on my fingers, and I worked on Clark number 2, all the hard keys.
Number 2, yeah.
And I even started holding my trumpet different because
Really?
I've always held my horn like this with this, with
Yeah.
my fingers in here, but it always makes it hard to move the third valve slide in. And I get the death grip on the horn. Hey, how's that for an ad for solo mutes there?
Yeah. What are you talking about?
Hey, yeah. It's an awesome harmon mute, man, I gotta say.
Best mute.
So I started thinking about it, and I'm going, if I hold the horn like this and put 2 fingers in, so I put a little bit longer cap on it.
Actually,
I can move that slide so much easier. And
like that.
that's how you hold it.
Yeah.
So I put a little felt pad there because I have no callus on my finger there.
Oh,
you know, because my finger hurts. Like, but I'm trying to train. But I've noticed that it loosens up this hand too.
The
For
right
some
hand.
reason, when I'm like this, I tend to. So I'm trying to been trying to retrain myself,
Wow.
you know, to
Pretty good,
you
Mike.
know, this constant, you know, this thing's a constant battle, as you know. And so just
Some
trying to
days
get,
you win, sometimes the horn wins.
yeah, you just want to trying to get better, and you know, and trying to, you know, the treatments have zapped me, so my energy, my strength is not what it was. So when I go to hold a high D, I just feel like it's a lot more work than it was.
Was
I'm
it
playing up, you know, I hit a double high C the other day for the first time in a long time. I wouldn't say it was the note and all notes, but I'm getting up over the break and I'm
okay? Good.
touching on those notes. So my chops are okay, but
Nice.
they're thin, so I
Okay.
have to be careful
Hmm.
because when I went through a divorce years ago, you know, I lost a bunch of weight and I actually caused a cyst on my lip. And
Okay.
it took me out of I had to quit playing for 6 weeks. This is 2009.
Yeah.
It really messed me up. So I'm aware of that now with the weight loss. So I'm being really careful and you know, I'm a very careful practicer and
Very
trying to just be
diligent.
really smart about all this. So anyway, enough about cancer. My PET scan is November 3rd and I'll get the word if I'm clear. The numbers look very good. As the doctors told me, there's much worse cancers you could get. If you're going to get cancer, this is the one to get.
Oh, really?
'Cause
Wow.
there's no worse treatment. You know,
Really?
the treatment we go through. Terry Warburton, you
Yeah.
know,
Had the
as you
same
know,
cancer.
he had the same cancer. So we've talked quite a bit, and he went through the same treatment program I did, basically.
Yeah.
And
Oof.
you know, and it's you know, so he's dealing with some of the side effects I'm dealing with, and
Yeah. Not easy.
so I'm part of a cancer support group even now for this type of cancer that's happening tonight, but I'm missing it because I'm with
Oh
you
man.
guys.
I appreciate you. Yeah.
Oh
Hanging
yeah,
out
of
with
course.
us.
I mean, they have a lot of people to talk there. So
Cool. Yeah, no, I mean, cancer is very unselective, and I'm glad you're on the other side of it, and we've been praying for you and
thank you. I
thinking
appreciate all the
positively,
prayers.
and all I can say is thank God you're a superhero, bro.
Man, I got to tell you something, Carl, about all this, and I'm gonna hopefully I won't start bawling my little
No,
eyes out here.
not at all.
But going through this, man,
Yeah.
the amount of support,
Mm,
you know, like on Facebook. I mean, I'm not kidding, man. I have thousands of messages
yeah.
of people I know, people I don't know,
Sure.
trumpet people, people that just don't have anything to do with it. They're just caring people.
Yep.
And I have hundreds of cards. I mean, I just cards showed up every day, hundreds of
That's
cards.
wonderful. God bless.
And I just and I read every message, man,
That's
on
beautiful.
Facebook. I read every message. I couldn't reply to everyone,
Sure.
but man, I felt so supported, and it really carried me through this, man, because it
Right.
was, you know, it was no
It's
party
hell.
around.
It's hell.
It was no party, man, and you know, you're sick and your throat it's like swallowing glass, and
Mm.
but there's a lot of positives. It's changed me as a person.
Has it?
You think
For
I was an
sure.
a-hole before? Well, now,
You're ready to scrap.
no, I'm definitely more. I'm more emotional. It's like funny, man. I start crying.
Sure.
It's this weird thing, and my wife thinks it's cute, and I go, man, I can't just start crying, you know, because Bambi's on. I've seen it, you know. But I get really emotional,
Sure.
and the friends I've made through the cancer friends I've made that have had this,
Oh
and you
man.
know, and Ryan Anthony, I were in close contact while I was going through this, you know,
Sure. God
and
bless his soul.
I have my last text banter with him, man. That was really an emotional when he told me he had 2 months, you
Yeah.
know. But he acted like my thing was the most important thing ever.
He had amazing way of putting people first, and you do the same thing, which is amazing.
I mean,
You
well,
know.
thanks for that. But yeah, this guy was truly a superhero, man.
Yep.
And he would go out, you know, I was practicing during chemo. He would go do chemo, then go play Mahler 5, which I
Yeah.
can't even imagine. I'm going to tell you just one funny Ryan story because it's a happy story. I
Please.
went out and I played, they did La La Land in Dallas, La La Land in the movie, you know, and
Uh-huh.
he wanted me to come out and play it.
Okay.
He goes, we don't have a lot of bread. You'll make the same money I make. I go, whatever, man. Just get me a hotel room and a flight. I'm
There
there.
you go. Good.
I'll make your money, you know.
Uh-huh.
So we came out there. So we did 3 nights and we hung every night,
Of course.
you know, and he was in pretty good shape at that point. So, but he was doing chemo and
Mm.
treatments and, you know, he was in an unknown land. He didn't know that he was going to make it or not. So
Sure.
we would go out afterward and we would hang and we'd possibly have some margaritas. So he's drinking
No.
margaritas and stuff. And at one point I go, are you supposed to be drinking? And he goes, "Oh yeah, these go great with the chemo." I remember, and I was like, "This guy, man, is like just,
It's from a different planet.
yeah, from another planet." I didn't drink. I stopped drinking the
good.
second I had a really expensive bottle of wine the night before my first treatment,
Did you?
and now I'm drinking wine again, but I haven't had any. I was kind of a vodka guy, and no, it's just beer and wine for me, and very casual. And I think I'm just going to leave it that way.
Yeah.
It's,
Sometimes it's like the tide. They come in and out.
Yeah, so it's changed me, in a lot of ways. I think about my health a lot more. I was just up in the mountains to get away from all the smoke in Southern California. Went up into the mountains
Okay.
where the air was really clean. These mountains we were at, and I hiked 3 days in a row with my wife, who's like, a Nazi, trainer.
Oh,
You
good.
know,
Yeah.
and so I'm exercising, and I'm trying to get my strength back. I'm trying to get some core happening. So,
Awesome.
you
Good
know,
for you.
yeah. So that's what I'm doing. Anyway, I got long-winded again. I'm sorry. No more cancer
No.
talk. Let's go to another question.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's send another
Awesome.
question. Cancer blows.
Exactly.
Yes, it does.
Cancer blows. My wife, I'll say too, you've been an inspiration, and so has Ryan been an inspiration to my wife, because she just beat it also. So it's not only just the cancer patients, it's the caregivers around the patients too. I still talk to cancer groups because, man, it affects the whole family.
Of course,
So,
yeah,
but
man. My
Cancer
wife.
Blows, and that's Ryan Anthony, right? Let's
Yeah.
just leave it with Ryan with Cancer Blows, because it's a
Right.
wonderful program.
Yeah.
That mask should have Cancer Blows, like we were talking
Yeah,
earlier,
I'm going to do that. I'm going to paint. I think we'll paint it. Be painted black, and then
and do the.
put the Cancer Blows logo on
That
each
would be
side or
great,
something.
man. That would
And
be
just something, a little tribute to Ryan, and
yeah, man.
he was a special cat, man.
Yep. God bless. Let's talk about
Yeah.
something else, Steven. What do you got for us? You got puppies and ponies for us, or what? What do you got?
I got the heavies are here, man. We got Raul Agraz, we got Ray Vega, we got Eric.
Oh,
We got
oh my
Eric
God.
we got Eric Miyashiro,
Man. Those are my compadres, man.
Yeah, the cats, man.
They are the
Andy
cats, that's
Greenwood.
for sure, man.
We got
All right.
yeah, we
Holy
got,
moly.
everybody here tonight.
I guarantee he's eating curry right now.
He's
That's
eating
all he
curry,
did.
and I should, keep on going. I should show
Wait,
you
isn't it
Andy's
like
cake.
3 a.m. for Andy right now?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't sleep.
Yeah, he's hardcore.
He doesn't have to get up in the morning to fix his hair like the rest of us. Oh, I'm sorry, Andy. I cannot. I'm so sorry. I went there.
Oh, that's
I
funny.
love you.
You guys mentioned this just a second ago, but Chris Manners kind of chimed in and echoed the thoughts of Wayne always.
Andy, what
Uh-oh.
the hell? Andy, what the hell case is this? What? Oh. Andy's case is bulldog.
Oh, that's
Sorry.
cool. No, Chris Manners. Yeah,
Chris
Chris
Manners is
echoed
there, yeah.
the thoughts that Carl mentioned. Says whenever you're with Wayne, he always makes you feel like the most important person to him at the time. Everybody's chiming in, wishing you good health, obviously.
Thank
and,
you. That's so kind, man.
Let's see here. Let's get on to some lighter stuff. Jay throws out a thumbs up for Plays Well with Others. The album is awesome.
Thank you.
Let's see, Scott tuning in from Seattle. Let's go down here. Shankman talked about Wayne. You once told me a great story when you were trading with Maynard on the Waynard and Maynard track. Would you mind sharing that story?
Not at all, because that tune was actually written for an event called Stratospheric that was held here in LA.
Remember that.
And it was a 4-day festival of panels and films and all this different stuff, right? And then Maynard's band was closing out the thing. So I talked to Gordon Goodwin. I said, Gordon, write Maynard and I a blues, something that'll be easy to read. And when my band plays on Saturday, if he's there, I can see if I can get him to come up and play it with me. And if not, whatever, So anyway, that didn't happen because Maynard's band didn't get there till Sunday. So that didn't really work out. So the chart never got played. And a few years later, I was doing Plays Well with Others, and I had this idea about, maybe getting Maynard to record this thing. So I got in touch with Ed Sargent, the road manager, and trying to figure out a date to do it. And I was going to maybe fly. They were on the East Coast. I was going to fly back there. They had a few days off, and I was going to try to book a studio in Washington D.C. or something, and get the track done in L.A. and then we could overdub our parts. So it didn't work out. And I started going, oh man, he's only got 2 days off. I'm not going to take his day off. So I found out when he had a 5-day break and was going to be back in LA. So we actually recorded it at that Santa Barbara Sound.
Yeah. Sound
So-
design, right?
So I recorded the 2 tracks the night before. I put my band together and recorded High Clouds and A Good Chance of Wayne. And then we did Maynard and Waynard, and I just, I left both trumpet parts out so we could do it together.
Yeah.
So I picked Maynard up in Ojai at his house, and it was funny because it's the first time, because I saw him at breakfast, and his son, Flo had been gone at this point,
Yeah.
his wife, and Christian and Wilder were living there at that point. So when I got there and I had breakfast with Maynard, and he's in his pajamas, in his little, one of those little white t-shirts, and he's having a bowl of Raisin Bran, and you want some cereal? I go, yeah, I'll have some cereal. But it's the first time I realized he was an old guy.
Really? Wow.
Because he always just seemed invincible and youthful.
Yeah.
But then you see, in this home thing, and he's in his pajamas going, it's an old dude, man.
Hair flying straight up.
Yeah, hair's unkept, and hadn't brushed his teeth yet. So anyway, we went. I drove him to the studio, and his daughter made me promise to make sure he didn't drink. And I said, "No worries, in good hands. I'll take him out for sushi." And so anyway, we get into the studio and we start. We get the band track going, and Maynard and I rehearse it together a little bit, the melody, so he knows how it goes back and forth, and then we start trading. It's just the blues, and I'm not, rewriting Western harmony when I play, by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just playing the blues, And we're playing, but we play chorus after chorus of the most boring crap you've ever heard. I'm trying to be really respectful of Maynard's playing and him mine.
Yeah.
And so we're playing, I'm going, and Maynard goes, and I go, he goes, so we do like 6 choruses or 8 choruses of that, and nobody's hitting a high note. And I'm going, wait a minute, so Gary goes, yeah, you guys get something going here a little bit, and we do it again. It's kind of more of the same. And it wasn't until I antagonized him.
Yep.
And I started pushing him because he didn't like somebody trying to grandstand on him, as you know.
Yes.
You better mind the rules. It's his band.
Yep.
But I had to push him a little bit. So I forget where I played something where I went up, I went, and he was like, oh yeah. And all of a sudden he came alive.
Yeah,
and
there's a fine line on that fence. When you get to there, then he's there, man. He's ready, right?
And so we did a couple of takes like that. And then we ended up, putting a couple of takes together, I think, especially, Maynard, he wasn't, he's not really comfortable playing by himself in a room.
Sure.
Overdubbing. He likes to have the power of the band behind him. So, getting a really strong take out of him took a minute, but we got him. We got it, and the rest is history. It's a thing I'm very proud to have him on and the title of that tune comes from, there was a tune called Blue and Shoe. It was written for Bobby Shoe and Blue Mitchell and Louis Bellson's. And I always remember that. And I said, Maynard and Waynard.
That's wonderful.
And so I kind of stole the concept from whoever wrote that chart.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I remember the whole stratospheric thing. I just left the band, and Maynard's like, "Oh, I might do the stratospheric thing out in L.A." And I remember also around the same time talking to Maynard after the fact that you guys did your record, and how happy he was. Maynard, he's a proud papa. He was always a proud, all his kids are always calling him Papa. He was, man. Like anybody who did something that was positive in the trumpet community and the music world, man, he was like, oh man, yeah, I seen Wayne and I did this thing and it was really fun. We had breakfast. Like, cool. It's like awesome, man. And
he was so funny at that event and so awesome, man. Like I don't want to. We weren't going to go on and on about Maynard too much.
Yeah, here we are. We're geeks though. We're trumpet.
We're geeking out over him. I just remember when we did the all trumpet band, which was trumpets where the saxes are, trumpets where the bones are, and trumpets in the back. And we did Give It One, and we did Bluebird Land, and somebody arranged it for just trumpets.
Oh,
and we had Maynard. Was it Bluebird Land? It was Bluebird Land. It might not have been Give It One. I forget what the other tune was. It might have been Birdland.
Okay.
And Maynard was there, so he had him come up and count it off. And he got on the microphone and he looked at the band. And he goes, somebody finally got this crap right. The comedian in him, and
timing.
It was really funny. Yeah.
And
So
it's God's instrument.
yeah. So it was a fun event, and
Awesome.
let's take another
Awesome.
question, man. I'm sorry.
Thanks for that
Yeah,
question, Dan. Billy Zampino is chiming in saying hello, guys.
Zampino, I love you, man. I miss you. Billy is our road manager for Billy Joel's band.
Oh man, that's awesome.
And Zampino is just he's a good cat. We love you, Zampino. Thanks for hanging out with me and Wayne tonight, bro.
Yeah, man. Hopefully I get to meet you sometime, man.
He's a big fan of yours. He's a big soundtrack guy, and Billy is a great music arranger. And Billy actually talks to me a lot about, he was a big Stan Kenton freak. And man, yeah, I know he's heard all the films that you've been on, The Incredibles too, and so yeah. Hey, Billy.
Yeah. See, Dennis Johnson, Carl, this is awesome. Thanks for this. Wayne, looking great. Happy you're feeling better.
Thank you.
Let's see. Got a couple comments here. Just kind of scrolling down to the next question here. Do either of you guys know if the beautiful video footage that you guys were talking about before the Maynard tribute concert was ever released? I don't think it was part of the DVD, was it?
I think it's on the DVD. I think there's some footage on there from that.
You mean where we're crying like 2-year-old babies?
Yeah, I think all that's on the DVD compilation. I think
Really?
Steve Shankman would know.
Yeah, Steve's still on here.
But I'm pretty sure some of it's on there anyway.
Yeah, I remember you and I and Frank, like we couldn't even separate each other. It was like, yeah, it was pretty.
We were a bunch of bawling children, man. It was just.
But we needed that. That was for me. I'm sure it was cathartic for you too, man. For me, I kind of needed that. You know, it was a very freeing moment.
It was some closure, you know, for us. And the end of that concert, man. And Steve, I don't know if this was under your direction, Steve Shankman, but man, the spotlight on Maynard's trumpet on the stage, his Monet trumpet, lit up, and it came down to smaller and smaller, and the room went dark, and the spotlight's on Maynard's horn, and it dims and disappears. It's giving me chills, man.
Yeah. I think it was a correlation between Ed Sargent and Shankman on that.
Yeah, I mean, it was really an emotional ending to that thing.
Yeah, there's no.
Yeah, and actually, Ed's on here with us tonight as well, saying hello to you guys.
Yo, Ed, I talked to Ed the other day. After I talked to you, Carl, I told him.
Oh, did you? Big
yeah,
Daddy?
he talked. He's going to take me fishing in Tennessee. He said so.
Well, you know, you come here because Ed's coming here too, so we'll all go fishing, whether it be Tennessee or we'll come out to a lake and catch maybe some fire brim in those fire lakes in California, and then we'll come to Florida and get some nasty brown tide kingfish.
Yeah. Ed Sargent, man, coolest road manager. Just the coolest guy, man. I have such fond memories of hanging with Ed and his words of wisdom. And, you know, I remember him trying to cut my hair, though, because Ed would cut hair and stuff.
Yeah, he was good.
And he started cutting my hair, and I had longer hair then. I've got fortunately, the chemo didn't take my junk here, you know. I got everlasting hair, and I don't dye my hair either, so don't think I'm dyeing the shit.
God bless you.
I'm 62, man, and I'm just starting to get gray hair. But Ed was trying to cut my hair, and I said, "You sure you can do this? Because my hair is thick." And he got halfway through it, and he goes, "Dude, I got to stop. I'm screwing it." So it was all he hack jobbed me up.
Ed wore a lot of hats, and he wore a lot of hats.
Yeah, he was our babysitter, man. You know, he kind of took care of everybody and made sure we were minding our P's and Q's. Because face it, when you're that age, you can be an idiot. And Ed was good at making sure we didn't act like fools, you know, but still had some fun. And
he was a big part of our upbringing for sure.
And of course, you know, Maynard was truly like a father to him. So as we know, you know, so yo, Ed, we love you.
Couple quick things before we get a little more geeky, but got Walt. We got some geekier questions that we're gonna get to, but Walt Johnson chiming in saying, "Hey guys."
Oh, Walt.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Yo, Walt, thanks, man. Those of you who don't know who Walt Johnson is, you need to do your homework. Have you been sleeping under a rock? Walt is truly one of the greatest players I worked with here in LA over the years, and we used to play in the LA Raider band together and did some sessions together. And you know, if you listen on a cold night at look at that case, Walt's case. If you go to the Coliseum on a cold night, yeah, you can still hear this double high C that he played at one of the Raider games. It's still echoing 30 years later.
Yeah. Awesome.
We love Walt.
Yeah.
One with Frank Sinatra Jr. and Senior, and
Yeah.
yep,
Swing, swinging lead player, man.
Swinging lead player, and a good cat. I used to hang out with him when he was selling his Walt Johnson cases. I was doing retail at Sam Ash Music. We became friends, and yeah, he's a monster.
But also Walt, also besides being a great lead trumpet player and a swinging lead trumpet player, I mean he could play styles as well. We used to play with Horace Heights Band, and we'd play at Disneyland. And we'd have to play some old time stuff. And Walt had a feature on like Embraceable You, I think it was, but it was really Harry James kind of thing,
Yeah.
And it was long, like this thing went on, the melody went on forever, and Walt would go down front and just play it, crush it. I mean, just perfect style, play right in the style of the music, and then come back and we'd play some rock thing, and he'd crush that, and it was always good with passing parts. We all got a little something to do, and he made sure nobody was bored. And I probably, learned some of that from him. It's the power of the past, as we would call it.
Yeah, man.
Not sure if I said this one or not, but Eric Miyashiro is chiming in from Tokyo saying hello.
Whoa, Eric, what time is it there? Holy crap.
Arigato.
Oh,
And can I tell my? You got
to tell this one.
Yeah, tell my Eric story. Eric, I was talking about this the other day with somebody. My favorite. I mean, Eric. If nobody knows, if you're under a rock, also if you don't know Eric Miyashiro, one of the premier great lead and solo trumpet players of today. I remember there he is.
That's him there. That's
on the end. So my quick Eric story is we're in Japan and Eric comes out in Tokyo to come sit in with Maynard. We're playing a Maynard gig, and Eric comes up in the trumpet section, and Scott Engelbright, myself, and I can't remember, maybe Keith Fial. I don't remember who. Anyway, so Eric comes up and he's playing in a section. And we're playing Birdland, and Maynard has him come down and play, and he sounds wonderful. Eric just does wonderful. And we're in Japan, and Maynard had a thing where if sometimes he'd forget people's last name. For years, I was Carl Perkins. And so it's a YouTube video, and he goes, and on trumpet, Eric Hiroshima. And I could have sworn I was going to fall off the stage. I had to grab the music stand and the mic stand so I didn't fall. And Eric, being Eric, a gentleman, he's laughing it off. But man, yeah.
Well, Eric, Buddy Rich used to call him Madam Butterfly. Eric called me that. And Chris Bodie was Prince Valiant.
Yeah, exactly. Oh.
Yeah, Eric, man, I miss you, dude.
We love you, buddy.
Yeah, we sure do, man.
Let's see.
Monster.
Carl, I know that you had a couple questions where you were going to reference a certain track on the Brass Attitude. So we had a couple things about Brass Attitude in the question. So maybe
okay.
I think
Yeah, let me talk about that. So when Wayne came in, like I was saying before, on that Brass Attitudes record, it was amazing to me that you just kind of sight read some stuff. And Wayne and Frank, Frank he passed a few parts too, and one of the parts he passed was this tune called The Lip. Dennis, you see, you're laughing already. It was a Dennis de Blasio chart.
So hard, man. Oh my God.
And it was like a million double A's. B zoot dee doot up, Z zoot doo doot up to a double A, and we recorded this thing probably 4 or 5 different takes.
Yeah.
You didn't crack one of those A's.
I wouldn't say that.
I didn't hear a crack, man. I was waiting. I was like, Frank and I had the scorecard out. We were going to bust you, man. And what was amazing to me was it's like, you played third, you played some second, and then you played some lead, and, there wasn't a crack on it. And so that was an interesting thing for me, the consistency. And again, I really think the consistency being a lead trumpet player is, it's not just high notes, it's stylistically also. A lot of young people don't realize that.
It's weird, that chart. I told Frank, I don't want to play this, man. You play this. And he's going, no, you play. Like he did not want to play it.
I remember both of you passing it like a hot potato.
Yeah, he did not want to play it.
Stay away from me.
And I know Carl was going. Carl just went to the other room, so I'm,
I left.
So anyway, but the reason I didn't want to play it is because it's got G sharps in it, and I can play a G sharp now. And so going to what?
Yeah, the half step.
And I somehow, most of them kind of worked. They kind of came out, but it was literally for me throwing up a prayer.
Really?
I know I could get the A. I mean, the A.
The A was great. That was your money note.
Yeah, but I go, and so I'd have to like kind of be careful and I was trying different fingerings every time, and I haven't listened to it in a long time, but I think they came out at least. So
they came out, man. And that was the cancel days. You were playing the cancel back then.
That's right. Yeah, I was canceling and probably a. Was I playing a Marcinkiewicz mouthpiece then? Maybe a She 1.5. Yeah,
you were playing something.
Oh no,
I
don't think. I think it was before that.
Really?
I think so. I think it was a Park mouthpiece.
Huh. Jeff Park. Yeah.
That was a copy of my Warburton.
Oh wow.
That Terry made me when I was on cruise ships. It was kind of a copy of that mouthpiece.
Okay.
Hey,
now we're geeking
Carl,
out.
I actually
so that's some geeky.
I actually have a short clip of that. What you're talking about. You guys won't be able to hear it.
Just don't play too much of it,
No.
No. I don't
Come
want
on, we got to put you on hot seat.
Unfortunately,
All right. Well, at least get to one where it sounds good. After
Let's hear the G sharp, baby. Come on, let's hear that G sharp.
You're gonna hear what I'm talking about.
Unfortunately, you guys won't be able to hear it, but the crowd will. So hang on one sec.
No one plays high notes like the lip.
There, now they got some context for those that haven't heard it.
So that lick. That happens about 40 times.
Times 4 takes. So
and then there's a shout chorus. There's a shout chorus in the middle, So it was a blow. I'm like, and I think Frank, because we had other music to record and he's playing lead, I think he just didn't want to crush himself. That was a smart quarterback move.
Yeah.
To get rid of that chart.
Oh man. Well, you guys both played it brilliantly. I remember sitting in the section like, man, these guys are dealing. It was funny because, like I said, we were just playing 2 trumpets at that point, and when you came in, it was like a prayer. It was like, okay, there's a guy that has chops, man, and yeah, it was that was a special night. That was a special couple days.
Yeah, it was really fun, actually.
Yeah. Go ahead, Steven. You have any more questions on
not
that?
Not on Brass Attitude. That kind of hit everything.
Okay. So let's go. Let's just jump onto this because this was back. We're talking Jeff Park mouthpieces, copy of Warburton. I'll get a little geeky right now since we have the trumpet contingent on here. So I remember getting a call. I want to say in the mid 2000s. I remember you playing a cancel and then going with Yamaha at the same time. You and I was playing a custom Yamaha that had a custom Eric Miyashiro bell, Bobby Shubati. It was a wonderful trumpet and it was a great company. But I remember you calling me in Japan and you were having some chop problems. And I think Willie Murillo, right? You were out with Gordon Goodwin and Willie was in the section.
Let me preface this a little bit, Carl.
Please. Yeah, give me the heads up. I like
the cyst thing I was talking about
is that it?
happened right before this. So I'm kind of in recovery mode from the cyst, and this is my first hard gig is a week at the Blue Note and I'm playing my Marcinkiewicz 1.5.
Small.
And you want me to just tell the story?
Please, yeah, because I love hearing it the first hand again.
So this is how I ended up on a GR mouthpiece. So how, I have my own line of GR mouthpieces now, as well as Carl does. And GR is a freaking genius,
Wizard, we call him the wizard.
He's on many levels, man. He's, I don't know what he's doing, but he does. So, but anyway, so I'm on this gig, and it's the first hard gig I played. The first night, the end of the first set, I'm done. Really? And my lip is starting to hurt already. And I'm going, oh no, man, I'm going to re-aggravate this thing. And I'd gone through cortisone injections and took 6 weeks off. And then I put ice on my chops and stuff. And I go to play the second set. And like 3 tunes in, I go, I'm done. Yeah. And I told the band manager, who's the 4th trumpet player, Dan Savant, I said, Dan, I'm going to have to go home. We're going to bring Eric in or something to cover me to play lead trumpet on this gig. And
at the Blue Note in Japan with
and this is our first night.
Wow.
2 shows a night. Yep. And then maybe this happened during the second show. Second set, I think. Yeah, it was during the second set. And Willie said to me, he goes, what does it feel like? My mouthpiece feels like a razor on my lip right now. I mean, it was a Bobby Shoe 1.5, which the smallest thing I'd ever played, but I'd gotten used to it, and I played a lot of recordings on that mouthpiece,
Yeah.
and but I put it in the edge of it, the inner edge felt like a razor, and Willie, out of his mouthpiece pouch, opens his mouth with 90 mouthpieces in it, and he says, man, I've got this mouthpiece here. I don't really know what it is. And he said, but it's got a really cushy rim. He goes, I don't really like it. It doesn't work for me. And I said, oh, what is it? And I go, he goes, I don't know. And it had some scribbling on the side. So I didn't know what it was. And so I put it up to my chops, and it was a lot flatter. And it comes, like if you could visualize the rim, it's like this, the high points on there. There you go. Yep. The far end. So I put it up to my chops. And now you understand, I couldn't play a high C at this point.
Oh, wow.
I put the mouthpiece on my chops, and I went, bop, bop, bop. And I hit a high C. And I go, bop, bop, bop. I went, bop, up. And I played a high F. Now, it didn't feel great, but I was like, man, all of a sudden I went from not being able to make a sound. So I play a couple of third parts. I passed a couple of parts. And then we got to Rhapsody in Blue, which I play. It's my
feature.
trumpet. It's a little feature for me in the middle. And but I played some high Ds and those other parts, and I played it, and it came out. And Gordon's looking back like, dude, what happened? You were just done. You were done a minute ago. And as that set went on, I got stronger and stronger. And by the end of that set, we played this tune called Race to the Bridge, this up rhythm changes chart. And it has a double high D on the end if I can, when I can do it. And it's the best double high D I ever played.
Wow.
And Willie's like, give me that mouthpiece back. And that mouthpiece was a Carl Fischer jazz model.
GR technology, yep.
And I called GR the next day because I wanted to know what mouth. And he goes, well, what does it say on the side? I go, I don't know, some sloppy handwriting on the side.
Some asshole script.
I go, it looks like a C. And he goes, does it say Carl? And I go, yeah. He goes, does it say jazz? I go, yeah. He goes, you're playing lead on that? He goes, that's the biggest backbore I can make. Yep. And I said, well, I don't know what it is, but I got to tell you, man. And then he explained to me why it worked. He goes, because of the scar tissue in my face from the cyst and all that, the other mouthpiece was impeding the vibration. Yep. And this just happened to free things up because it was a little wider. And so now the mouthpiece wasn't perfect for me. Like I couldn't center a high F sharp. I remember I could, but it was kind of like, it was squirrely.
You guys called me. I got to interrupt. You guys called me that night after your set, though. I remember you told me this whole story, just like it, and it was amazing because like you were so like, man, I was done, Carl. You were so animated. I'm like,
oh yeah. Well, I mean, I really was. I'm not jiving about this, man. I was done.
And then I called Gary the next day. I'm like, man, he's in Japan. You guys should talk. And he's like, Gary's like, oh, really? He's got the Wisconsin accent.
Yeah.
And so, but what was exciting for me was, it was that flat cushion rim, and you say it best, and I quote you constantly. It's like, it's a walk around the block. Once you get used to that feel, it's very unconventional. Yeah,
it's very unconventional rim, But now, and George Graham played a rim kind of like this too.
Did he really?
Yeah, and I never liked his mouthpiece back in the day, But so I'm playing on this thing, and my best description is you get up to about high F, and it was like a 5-lane highway wide open with no traffic. You get to F sharp, there's an accident.
Yeah,
and you can you got to get through the, and then high G was like you had to scrape the divider, and then it would open wide up again.
Yep.
On the high A.
The backbore, yeah.
So those high A's and stuff, and Gordon's man, he writes a lot of them. I was like a kid in a candy store. I'm like, holy crap, man, this has never been this easy either.
Yeah, sure.
It was actually easier.
Yep.
And so GR, when I got home, I had mouthpieces waiting for me.
Yeah.
With the rims modified a little bit and some different backbores and some different design things. And he wouldn't tell me which was which. He said, warm up on these and tell me which one fixes the problem.
The wizard.
And I go, this one fixes the problem, but those notes are really high on the pitch. He goes, okay, I can fix that. And so that's how we ended up with my line of mouthpieces, Wayne Bergeron Studio. And then we did the Studio M and Classic and all these different things. And it's been a very lucrative side business for me. I have to tell you, Carl, I don't know how many mouthpieces you sell, but I'm going to just brag a little bit. I sell a shitload of mouthpieces.
I know you do. I know.
And it's just the weirdest thing because it's such an unconventional mouthpiece.
Yeah, no, it's great. And I'm coming over 20 years now, and it's been a nice thing for us. Steven deals with it for me too. And what's really exciting for me, I don't know how you feel about it, is just helping out the fellow trumpet player.
Oh yeah.
Like, how many guys have you seen, including yourself, including me? I injured myself. I was playing a rim that was just, as Maynard would say, and God has bite, has a cut to it. And, and you get to a point, man, you're just pressing and pulling and you're hurting yourself. And that's why I loved, and it came out of Scott Holt, that rim configuration and no undercut on that mouthpiece came out of a Scott Holbert mouthpiece out of his garage. He was in the Army Field Band, a wonderful trumpet player.
Wow.
And we kind of messed with it. And then Gary kind of put his magic on it. And then there's been devotees and offshoots of your mouthpiece with Louis Drodswell. And I think our buddy is on here. Dan, I don't think Dan's on, but Dan has a mouthpiece line.
Dan Finero, his is more conventional 3C type.
Is it more 3C? Yeah.
Yeah. But that rim, Maynard was onto something with the soft rim, doing that kind of playing anyway.
Yes.
Because I've never hurt my chops since switching to this mouthpiece. No matter how hard I play, I never feel like I'm going to hurt myself.
Yeah.
So
you're not cutting off your circulation. You're not.
Right. Yeah. So.
And you sound wonderful on it. It's amazing. Once you hear guys, I don't care if it's the 66M, if it's like a copy of a 1C. And that Jazz was my biggest mouthpiece. I have, like you said too, you have a line. I have 5-6 different sizes. What's amazing to me is once you hear a guy play a GR mouthpiece sound, the overtone series to me is what makes it.
Yeah, when you get the right mouthpiece on the right player.
Oh my God.
Yeah, right? Randy Brecker's been dabbling with it, and he told me, I'm getting used to it. He goes, but I'm digging my sound more than I have in a long time. He told me.
Randy sounds amazing on it. Yeah.
So it's been a Gary and I have a good business together, man. We've gotten to be good friends, of course, too. And I know more about mouthpieces now than I ever wanted to know.
Yeah.
Of course, but it's good to understand how it works and how when people that ream mouthpieces out like that's going to help you just. Gary, now I look at him like, what are you doing? You're just ruining the mouthpiece. It's more than that. A lot of things have to be done when something's changed, to make it work.
I think he's the last dinosaur. I mean, what he knows and how he puts it together consistently. It's the same analogy I would use as a great lead trumpet player. The consistency that he has.
Well, he doesn't cut corners at all, as you know. I mean, everything it takes longer. His gold plating, the guy that does the gold plating, it's 3-point, it's a more plating than you're going to get on other companies. It is more. They're dark. You can tell by the way they look, and it lasts,
And they're big music fans too. I mean, they're not just trumpet geeks; they're about the music. And
right.
Brian Scribe. They told us a long time ago, and you and I talked about it. This is going on over a decade or two. When you first started, we were going to try to do the East and West.
That's right.
East and West meets, and which one day I'd love to do a concert thing with you, East meets West, with sponsored by GR. It'd be wonderful.
That'd be an awesome thing.
Yeah, I'd have to practice though, and I don't think that's
me too. Yeah. I got to learn the difference between a flat tire and a flat 9 if I'm going to trade fours with you.
I got to learn how to tune a fish.
Yeah. I'm sorry, we went on another Maynard tangent there. Let's.
What do you got there, Steve-O? I'm question out here. How you holding up, Wayne? You all right?
I'm doing okay. We'll wrap it up and take a few more questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm out of water.
Yeah.
Got to basically, let's see. AJ Nestor says, Wayne, could you talk a little bit about hooking up with Jerry Hayes' crew and what experience that has been like?
I'm going to show you. I'll do better than that.
It's going to be show and tell by Wayne Bergeron.
This is my first session for Jerry Hay. I don't know if you can see with the glare there. And that's Gary Grant and I. And this is for a Pussycat Dolls recording.
I love the Pussycats. Nothing like a good pussycat.
Hey, can I share a quick soundbite with you?
As long as we don't get flagged on YouTube.
No.
We're allowed 10 seconds. We're allowed 10 seconds.
Can I do that?
We can try it. I don't know if it'll come through or not the way I have it set up, but.
Oh, it probably won't. You're right. Anyway, because Jerry just sent me, I told him that was my first session. He goes, "That the first one?" I go, "Yeah." And he goes, and then he sent me the tracks we did.
Really?
Yeah, with no vocal or anything, you know. And it's so, I mean, it's really, you know, it's got a lot of shakes. It's definitely a ferocious lead part. But I'm there standing between my two heroes.
Jerry and Gary.
That's, you know, this is quite a few years ago. I don't have that shirt anymore, that cool shirt.
You don't
So,
have that?
and Jerry is still playing, he hasn't played in years, you know. So, and anyway, it was just like, and going in the booth and hearing this back. Actually, no, I did play with Jerry one time before. That's the first time I actually worked for him proper.
Oh, wow.
He did a jingle one time when I was with Paul Anka's band, and Paul Anka's horns. He played first trumpet in our section, so I did play with him one time before that. But that's the first session I ever did for him. And anyway, you know, so now that he doesn't play anymore, I get to do a lot of the dates because he doesn't play; he just writes, and so I get to live through him. So doing the Dirty Loops recordings and some of the other stuff we've done, man, it's just like, and when it's Jerry Hay, everything is right. The vibe is right. The money's right. The music's right. There's good wine afterward because he's, you know, there's a hang afterward. We'll sit around and drink wine and cheese, and we just try to get the date. His son is a recording engineer, and we get done so fast because he's such a bad boy that we get done early, and then we just drink and, you know, and afterward. And so it's really, I mean, getting to work for Jerry and with Jerry. I mean, he truly is an icon and a hero to so many of us trumpet players, and he redefined pop horn writing.
Yes.
You know, who can write three notes, you know, just once, blah, blah, blah. James Ingram, you know, write three little notes on the flugelhorn that make the tune a hit. Yep. And the Michael Jackson stuff, of course, and you know, it's just insane, and all the Al Jarreau stuff, and the thousands of dates. I grew up looking at albums with Jerry Hay, Gary Grant, and Chuck Finley's name on them, and so to finally meet those cats, you know, and get to play with them, it's still, you know, it's still amazing, you know. And Jerry, of course, went through some cancer stuff himself, so he's kept in touch with me through all of this.
Oh, nice.
So anyway, that's a picture I proudly.
He's a special cat. You know, what's amazing too is throughout, you know, and we've been very trumpet heavy, and I'm sorry for the regulars and the non-trumpet hang people, but I will say with Jerry Hay and Gary Grant, but you're talking about three notes, you know, those three notes that mean a lot. I remember doing, I was in Europe and I played with James Ingram and got to play that flugelhorn thing just once, and we hung with James that day, the day of, and I remember him talking about that session, about Jerry, and Quincy Jones produced that session. Yeah, and the whole thing about him working with Jerry and how he was a piano player, he wouldn't want to sing, and how he was enthralled with the way Jerry would arrange these things, and it just made musical sense, and it wasn't a trumpet thing.
Jerry knew the magic of where to place the notes. You know, he could write busy and it would never be in the way. He'd write something really notey and not in the way, you know. Which
I'm going to ask you. So now you're playing busy stuff. You're doing a Dirty Loops thing, and there's a million different notes. You know, you're playing roller coaster, but you know, like the typical funk horn lines. But then he's got all the other things, physically on the trumpet, it lays right, correct? It doesn't feel like it's a...
Yeah, it usually lays. I mean, there's a couple of licks that he said, well, he didn't write every lick on that because some of them are the keyboard player's guy.
Oh, okay.
And Jerry orchestrated them. But Jerry, he would write like 2 or 3 different endings for something because he goes, well, we'll see if they can play this one. And then this is what the other guy wrote.
Okay.
But, you know, with a little studio magic, you know, there's one at the end of one of those tunes that goes... And there's this double high beat, and it's an impossible lick, but you just get the shape of it, kind of.
Yeah.
You know.
The shape.
And we got it, man. We ended up getting it, you know. Wow. And anyway, those records. So Jerry sends me. I have that stuff too. He sends me the stuff without the vocals on it, and the horns hot, so we could. Because when we were listening to that stuff back in the booth, the horns were blazing loud, and we're sitting there and we're just thinking, man, this is some pretty earth-shattering writing right here and playing, and it was pretty good, man. We were all very proud, you know, and I was thinking, I can't wait for this to come out, you know.
You remember the other cats with you? Who was the horn session?
It was Gary Grant and I, and Bill Rockenbach and Dan Hagen.
Yeah. Yeah, great section, man.
And you know, these guys, they bring more to the date than just their playing. I mean, they're writers and
sure,
you know, so. they're all very involved in the whole thing, So anyway, thanks whoever asked about
Yeah.
Jerry Hay. I'm glad I got to brag about him a little bit because
Yeah.
he's my friend.
I'm
It's such a cool thing to be able to say that because I really love that
Awesome.
guy, man.
Awesome.
And Larry Hall, who's his best friend. Larry Hall would just tell me because I never played with Jerry when he was young,
Okay.
but he said Larry like there was nobody better than Jerry Hay. That's just what he says
Really?
as a young player.
Wow.
And he would just like these Sea Wind gigs, man. He would just unstoppable. He could just play and play all night and never tire and never miss a note, and playing ridiculously hard music. He had a thing with his throat too that he went through.
Did he?
Yeah.
It was cancer and
Well, the throat thing wasn't a cancer, but it's a thing that kind of
hernia.
made him stop playing because he couldn't do it the way he wanted to do it anymore. It was hurting him,
Gotcha.
And the cancer thing was later with him. He had the same thing that George Duke had,
Oh, did he?
and George
Wow.
didn't make it, but Jerry
Yeah.
made it.
Wow.
So
God bless him.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
man.
let's hit one more question. Then I got one more question for Wayne too, because I
Yeah.
know it's getting late and people are starting to fall.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's late back for you guys, I know.
First, I got a comment and a question. Somebody, let's see. This is Carson says, loving my CF horn. I'm a school trumpet player. Learned so much from listening to both of you guys. Thanks so much for what you do.
Thank you.
You got to try
Carson.
that Yamaha trumpet. You got to try my horn. And sorry.
If I could come to LA right now, I'd
Just go into a competition
Yeah, right.
of advertising.
Yeah, you should play Wayne.
Yeah. Have you tried the Wayne Bergeron Model GR?
Based off the CF model. What are you talking about?
Stolen from the Carl Fischer model.
Oh, you got the sticker on your head. All right.
It's all good, man. It's all in love. Thanks, Carson. And can't get anybody better than Wayne on. So we're
Exactly.
having a great time.
Let's
Thanks.
see.
This is fun,
Stephen, I'll never pronounce the last name right. Stephen F says, Wayne, do you have any tips on playing lead on the BPB charts? Playing lead for the Soundhouse band this fall, and I've never been challenged in so many ways at once.
Oh, with the Soundhouse
Yeah.
chart, you mean?
That Caleb's band?
Yeah, Caleb's band. I was supposed to run one of those bands, but I was in the middle of my cancer thing, and so I couldn't do it. But we did a pre-record for that thing of one of Gordon's charts, T.Ë.T.I adjacent, for Caleb's thing. And so, what was his question again?
Basically,
exactly?
just looking for some advice in approaching playing lead for those types of charts.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it goes back to style. I mean, like that particular chart's a funk chart, right? So I'm going to approach that very differently than I'm going to approach Shiny Stockings. Notes are going to be shorter. I'm going to be much more in the middle of the beat, time accuracy wise. My vibrato is going to be different, if any at all. Short notes, very percussive because it's kind of like a tower power chart, So that's the way, I think about doing those things, as far that can give you advice stylistically. I mean, as far as endurance and getting through those charts, I always try to be a smart player. If I get a chart that's got a lot of blowing in it, I know I have to get from point A to point B without faltering. So if that means I have to leave a unison lick out so I can make sure I can make this little high lick here, I'm going to do that. And there's no shame in doing that. Gordon, matter of fact, he writes all these unisons. He knows, I know you can't get to that A from around the block, everybody else has got this. Don't worry about it. So I don't think there's any shame in figuring out a way to get through something to make it easier. So
Yeah,
that answers your
I
question.
got one last one here on the chat, and then I think I kind of hit everybody. Sorry if I missed anything, guys, but this one is: could you both talk about the influence of Bobby Shew on your playing?
I'm glad somebody asked that because we didn't get to we Maynard geeked out. Well, Bobby would Maynard geek out too with us, But Bobby, I took some lessons with Bobby Shew. When I have a problem of any kind, when I had the cyst on my lip, my first call was the Bobby Shew.
The doctor.
The doctor, man, and I watched him play with Louis Belson's band when I was young, the Blue and Shoe thing. So I've always been a fan of his playing because I was always told when I was a kid, you either play lead or you play jazz.
Yeah.
And then I heard Bobby Shew, and I go, no, whoa, wait a minute, And so you know, I'm not that, I don't, you know, can think of myself as much of a jazz player, but I did start getting interested in improvising after I heard him play.
Yeah.
So I was going, oh man, I could just maybe get to where I can do this a little bit, you know. Why not be able to take a solo, you know?
Yep.
And so Bobby and I are very good friends now, and best of friends in many ways, and we keep in contact with each other. And he's going to be 80 years old coming up here on his next birthday,
Crazy.
and he's doing a ton of teaching in Albuquerque. You know, he's even teaching some beginners. He told me, and he's like,
Oh, wow, really?
he's discovered some things. So he really is the trumpet guru, man,
Yeah.
to so many of us. And there's not a person I know that hasn't been influenced by Bobby Shew in one way or another, you know, because he could do it all.
Yes.
You know, he really could, and still can. And the most beautiful lyrical flugelhorn, you know, you're ever
Queen
going
on
to hear.
flugel, baby. The old
Yeah.
Queen ons that he had. I actually have one of his horns. I actually bought one of his horns when he was selling the horns a couple years back. But yeah, I'm sorry I cut you off, Wayne. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. I mean, you know, I could go on, and I want you, you know, why don't you say something about him?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm just going to echo what you said, and the only thing I'll add is I remember going, you know, back 25 years ago to his clinics, and him giving, you go to his clinic through Yamaha. At that point, it was the 6310Z.
Right.
Way before that, you know, before the 8310s, it was his first incarnation of his horn, the Z horn, and he'd give out handouts of handwritten. I still have them on my library over
I
here.
have them in my,
Right?
on my
And it's the
desktop.
hippest thing, man. He talk about aperture. He talk about the wedge breath. You know, and he would actually draw diagrams of the air column and your aperture. And everybody in that clinic, whether it be 30 people or 60 people, would have this handout. And he would talk about it and he'd educate you. And then at night you go to and hear him play in a big band. He'd play some lead stuff, and then he'd play jazz. And for me, it was the same thing Wayne's saying. It's like, well, he's playing some lead. Oh wait, he's playing some jazz, and he'd pick up a flugelhorn and sound lush.
Yeah, he's
Share his knowledge. He would share his knowledge, and that Yamaha kinship that Wayne has now, I kind of look forward. You know, this is the kind of moving forward. You know, when I was with Yamaha, it was, you know, Bobby, and then it was wonderful seeing Wayne come into this and Wayne deciphering his information, and you know, and now you have Wayne. You have I'm sorry, I'm having a
like Rex
Hiroshima. Yeah.
Oh, and Eric
Hiroshima. You know, you
I mean,
have
there's-
all these Yamaha
some-
cats doing these positive things, and that's just moving it forward, man. It's
There's some good, you know, they have a great artist roster, obviously. But the other cat, you know, Rex Richardson,
Oh, he's a nice cat, man.
man,
Good
he's a
player.
nice cat, man. He's so
Right.
knowledgeable, man.
Is he?
As a
Oh.
teacher,
Oh,
I mean, I've asked him questions, and you know, I always check out his teachings on Facebook because he's
Yeah.
bored like the rest of us, so he's doing stuff.
Sure.
And that guy can play the trumpet.
Yeah, he's a
He
technician.
can flat out play the trumpet, man, and it's very impressive what he can do.
Nice cat.
That's a thing. He's a good cat. I
Yeah.
mean, he's like just like not a mean bone in his body, man, and just.
That's
We've
awesome.
talked quite a bit. I feel like I'm good friends with him, and I really don't know him that well, you know, but we talk online
Yeah.
a bit here.
Well, it's just moving it forward, and to me, Bobby was the first guy that kind of moved it forward in my eyes, in that realm, you know. And you know, 80 years old, you're 62, I'm 48. You know, Raul and all the cats are hanging with us. It means a lot to me that all the community came out to hang out with it.
Yeah, me too, man. Don't hear those cats' names. Ray Vega, man. I love that guy.
Ray
He
and
came out to
Raul
LA
together?
he came out to with Tito Puente, and we played with the Hollywood Bowl Orchestra. And Ray made us all trade fours. He was up front with the band.
Really?
And then we went down the line and we traded fours. It was Rick Baptist and I, and John Lewis had to trade fours too, and he did great. And Dennis Farias was still with us at that point, you know.
God bless him.
And it was, and I remember that night like it was yesterday, man. It was just so fun, man.
You know, I usually ask you a simple question, but I'm going to ask you one more question, and this is for me. Usually I ask about what excites you in the future, and that's my normal thing. But I'm going to ask you something that's near and dear to your heart and my heart. We hit Maynard, and we already hit that, and we love Maynard. But tell me, I know there's a million stories, but let's end with a Jack Sheldon anecdote. Because I know you and Jack were so tight, and my dad loved Jack, and Jack and you were so tight. For the young guys, Jack Sheldon was a quintessential great trumpet player, comedian on the Merv Griffin show, but a wonderful cat. And Wayne and him love
So here's from his memorial.
Memorial.
picture.
There he is.
And this is the glove. I was a pallbearer.
Oh,
And I played taps on his horn at the gravesite. So his wife, I just put the casket down,
okay.
and she goes, "Do you have your horn?" I'm going,
You're crying.
"No, I don't have my horn. You know, what am I?" And she goes, "Well, I need somebody to play taps right after the prayer." And then the prayer's starting right now. So I open up Jack's case, and I put his mouthpiece in. I blow into it to make sure the valves are in right. And I played the best taps I've ever played at his gravesite. But Jack, Jack, he had a lot of funny things. But he used to, one of his lines, he used to go, "I've turned my life over to the care of the Lord, and I have to be honest with you, I'm not really happy with the way he's running things." That's Jack Sheldon.
Oh.
There's a million, Jack Sheldon lines, but he's truly one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life. I mean, ever. I'll tell a quick story. At his 70th birthday,
Okay.
we played this gig, and with a big audience there. It was at Merv Griffin's Hilton, Beverly Hills Hilton.
Yeah.
And Pete Condoli was in the crowd, of course, and he's heckling Jack. Because that's just what he does. He heckles, and so Jack asked him. He goes, "Pete, when you were young, did your mother give you money for trumpet lessons like mine did?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "What'd you do with the money?" Heckling Jack Sheldon, never good. So, I'm pretty honored that I got to play with Jack, and I was there at his, final moment at his gravesite, man. So that's why that's displayed on my thing back there, because
I know you guys were tight, and he loved it. He loved you playing in his big band, and
I didn't play the last years in his band, and we didn't have a falling out, but management and I had a little falling out, you might say. But
it's okay. Yeah.
But it was okay. But I always loved Jack, and
Yeah.
after he had his stroke, it was just sad, because he lasted quite a while after that, though.
Yeah, he did. I remember back in the day, he used to play the old Constellations, and that's where I was coming from. I was the old Cons, and then later in life, he played the box. I remember, right? But
he played a Bach, he played a Stone V, he played a Yamaha,
Oh, really?
the big bell. Yeah, he was always trying new stuff. We played a memorial concert the day after his funeral as well at Catalina's, with a band put together, and had different guest artists, and Chuck Finley played, and everybody told stories, and it was really quite a night.
What was the place across the street from NBC? Everybody used to hang out.
Oh, Chadney's.
Chadney's, yeah.
Chadney's. That's long closed.
I remember going there, and Chuck Finley was there. You took me with Frank, and then Jack showed up, and it was just like the who's who. And I'm looking at it like, man, this is what LA's about. I thought New York was cool, but
yeah. Well, New York's cool too, man. It's just like whenever I'm in New York, I'm always thinking the same thing.
Grass is always greener.
You're sort of some weird place to play, and there's some young trumpet player you've never heard of that's just hoisting, and it's just what it is. And man, New York, it's underground, man, badass jazz players, and the whole underground scene. We have a little bit of that in LA though.
Yeah.
There's some young lions here, man, that can really play,
Yeah. Well, listen, buddy, I can't tell you how much fun Stephen and I had. I'm totally honored that you came and hung with me. I love you like a brother.
Oh,
and
man.
I'm so happy
Love
that
you
you're sharing your love and your expertise with everybody. And I'll be remiss to say this is what I needed. So thank you.
Thanks for this, man. It was fun for me too, man. I'm locked up at home like everybody else, so this sucks. I'm just gonna go out there and say it. And my wife and I are grooving here together. We've got it worked out, man. But I just go out in the car just to drive around. I'm gonna go drive. I just got to get out of the house, So so this is social hour for me, and man, getting to interact with people and do this, and you especially, because I love you. You know that, man. And,
Thank you, man. Likewise.
I remember it was so awesome. I so remember you coming backstage at Jacksonville with your dad, and your dad was the coolest guy, man. And I'm sorry he's not with us anymore, man.
Yeah, both Maynard and your mom and my dad, they're all with us.
Yeah,
They're all
man.
hanging out. And you know what? Be like Wayne, and I pay it forward. Bring another kid to McDonald's. You go see some music. Bring the kid to McDonald's on a set break, because that's what
I take care of young players out here. I bring them to sessions with me. I bring my
I know you
students with
do,
me.
but bring
I
them
take
to
them to
McDonald's.
lunch. I tell them to bring their horn in case somebody forgets up, in case somebody shows up late. I had a student sit behind me at a session, and the other trumpet player will remain nameless, but his initials are Larry Hall. But it's a session I booked, and he had the wrong time down, and I just happened to have this gal with me that was going to take a lesson, and I go, get your horn out.
There it is. Time
We're
to-
on.
Yep.
And so she came and we sound checked together, and we ended up recording one cue.
Oh, cool.
And then Larry got there and go, get your checkbook out. I say,
Good
that's
way.
why you always bring your horn. I always tell my students.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that being said, I'm going to put my horn in the case because I don't want it when it's out. I don't want to take it out when you're here, bro.
Oh, give me a break. Come on, dude. All right, man.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thanks to everybody that's watching for the great questions. And
Yeah, man.
Steve, thank you. And this is a nice format, the way you
Oh,
do this, by the way.
thank you.
This is
Thank
really
you.
great.
We've been working on. We're actually going to take. Steven's going to do a little cleanup, but we're going to take 2 weeks off, regroup, and come up for season 3. But Wayne, you're the last guy of season 2, and we appreciate you coming out with a bang. And I can't wait to hang out with you and play with you again. And Steven, we'll let you do your homework and clean it up. And thank you, Wayne.
All right, man. Love you guys. Thank you very,
Thanks,
very much.
everybody.
Love you, bro.
Peace.